Good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed a matter of great pleasure and honor for us to host this today's event under this Pondicherry Heritage Festival, which started from the 1st of Feb to it will continue to 15th of March 2023. It is really one of the unique festivals, the ninth edition the city is hosting, and many of the programs through exhibitions, conferences, seminars, many programs are going on to celebrate the rich and diversity of cultural expressions of this land. So we are very much grateful to our today's speaker, and we have with us our chairman Sri Pradeep and Dr. Dominic Goodall from the director from EFEO, Dr. Satish Nallam from Alliance Francaise, and many other panelists who will join recently. Before we start, I'd like to request our Pradeep Narambai to kindly felicitate our today's guest, Sri Satish Nalamji, the director of French Alliance Francaise. I request Pradeep Bhai to kindly also welcome our guest, Dr. Dominic Goodall, the director from EFEO. Thank you, Pradeep Bhai. So, it is really an auspicious occasion for us when we celebrate something on heritage, culture, tradition. Although the participation is less, but it is a festive celebration. So, first of all, I'd like to say something about Sri Aurobindo Societies. It is one of the mother's vision to spread Sri Aurobindo's message on different dimensions. And we are very happy with the grace of the mother and under the dynamic supervision of Pradeep Bhai, the society is working on many aspects, including health, culture, sustainable development, education. And the society has more than 300 branches all over India and working on many dimensions. And we have today among us Dr. Nalam Satish. He is the president of Alliance Francaise de Pondicherry. Let me formally welcome our today's guest. He is basically a medical professional and worked as Deputy Medical Officer, Government General Hospital, Senior Residence in Jipmer. He is also the Vice President of the Pondicherry Surgeons Association. He is Executive Member of Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry ASA Chapter and Organizing Secretary of ICS and Organizing Secretary and Treasurer of the Ponchicon. He is currently the President of the Alliance Francaise de Puducherry, a non-profit association, and its purpose is to promote the French language and culture and to foster understanding between India and France by developing cultural exchange between the two countries. I welcome you, sir, for sparing your valuable time for today's event. I also welcome Dr. Dominic Goodall. He is a renowned Indologist actually. So we met approximately 15 years ago at the World Sanskrit Conference at Delhi, and we have heard about him. A scholar like Dominic Goodall, he has his own identity. He studied Greek and Latin, then Sanskrit at Pembroke College, Oxford. After finishing his graduation, he came to Hamburg for 2 years to learn medieval Tamil with Professor S.S. Srinivasan. He was attached to the French Institute of Pondicherry since 1996 and 1997, before returning to Oxford as Wilson College Junior Research Fellow in Indology from 1998 to 2000. Among his publications are editions and translations of works of poetry in Sanskrit and unpublished Saiva inscriptions and theological commentaries. He is currently a professor at the EFEO and co-editor with Dr. Marion Rustel of the Venetian Dictionary of the Anthric Terminology. In May 2016, he was elected the member correspondent charged de academic des inscriptions at Wallis Letters. I welcome Dr. Dominic Goodall for today's event. We have also our panelists today, Dr. Ravichandran P., Assistant Professor from Department of History, Tagore Government Arts and Science College, Sri Ashok Pandaji, co-convener from the Indian National Trust for Art, Culture and Heritage from the Pondicherry chapter, We have Dr. Geeta Auropremi, she is the former MD Ayurveda from the Gujarat success. And we have Dr. Govardhan Chau from the Assistant Professor, Department of Ecology and Environmental Sciences, School of Life Sciences, Pondicherry University. And Mr. G. Honest Paul, the Sarvamaxis Program Trainer and Assistant Professor, Tagore Government Arts and Science College. They will be joining soon. Sorry. So I welcome all the panelists for this today's session, and we are also very happy that Sri Uday Kumarji, the Secretary of Health, Puducherry Government, has also joined with us, and professors from Puducherry University. So I welcome all of you for this today's symposium on cultural heritage conservation and sustainability with special reference to Pondicherry. I request our respected Pradeep Naram Bhai, Chairman Sri Aurobindo Society, to kindly say a few words on this occasion, please.
Welcome all of you. You have large number of very eminent panelists here today, experts in their own fields, and at a very appropriate time that you're getting together. For us, Pondicherry is the hallowed ground, and many of us have been drawn to Pondicherry because of Sri Aurobindo and Imam. Normally, when you come from one place to another, there is a push factor where you're not happy, so you're pushed out, and then you're pulled in because perhaps there's a great possibility of happiness over there. Pondicherry is one place where there was only one big pull factor and there was no push factor. All of us came here because we wanted to be here. And we wanted to understand more closely Sri Aurobindo's yoga, Buddha's yoga, and also its impact, its universal impact, which is already being felt all over the world. So there are a large number of us who came here. Sometimes one wonders as to, when you talk to yourself, as Sri Aurobindo says, sometimes you talk to yourself in your own gulfs, you ask yourself as to why have you come here? And suddenly you do get an answer as to what the reason is, what the reason was at least, and that the pull continues to be as strong, if not stronger. Pondicherry is, as Sri Aurobindo calls it, a place of his retreat. He called it a cave of tapasya, not the ascetic kind, but the brand of my own invention. This is the beauty of his own invention. And that's why we talk of his integral yoga. Yoga is well known. Yoga means union. Anything done in union with God is yoga. But then this uniqueness of his yoga has to be understood very, very carefully. And what symposium that we are talking of today is one reason, one way of getting to know Sri Aurobindo's philosophy and to understand Pondicherry better. Now, Pondicherry is a remarkable place. You know what the mother said about Pondicherry? She said that right from the center of the city, which is where the ashram is, for 12 kilometers, her own physical consciousness prevails strongly. And people who do come to Pondicherry feel that consciousness. And I find that more and more tourists come here maybe for the new, So many people join us from all over the world coming here. Some come for the cuisine, some come for the worship, some come for something else or the other, some come for the ashram. And some come for the sheer beauty of the place and the aesthetics, the potential, and something that draws people that has to be understood a little more carefully. But I would like to draw your attention as a person who doesn't understand the intricacies of what you want to say. But I do realize that much needs to be done in Pondicherry. Because tourism in Pondicherry has become a very, very big thing. Pondicherry is restricted to the so-called White Town. Whole tourism rushes only to this area because this is where the ocean is, where the beach road is. And especially on a weekend, even it's almost impossible to walk on the beach. You don't know where to park. More and more people are driving in. They don't have a place to park. There's a traffic jam, etc., etc. So one is my request to our own government is that we have to handle our traffic a little more carefully, a little more judiciously. I don't know how we're going to do this because our roads are narrow, built long time back, and there were only horses running here. But somewhere, somehow, this traffic has to be handled. On the other hand, you have a large number of potential travelers who want to come to Pondicherry but can't come here because there are no flights. Because this airport cannot be expanded. Airport cannot be expanded because you can't get land in Tamil Nadu, which is a very peculiar thing. One has been listening to this for the last 15 years that the airport cannot be expanded because Tamil Nadu government doesn't allow us to have land over there. No. I'm sure there is some truth. There's some truth in this. And otherwise...
Now it is there, but now the money is the only issue. Now the Tamil Nadu government has allowed it.
But yeah.
Who will pay the money? The government of... They are interested in the government of...
I think the government of India will help. I'm so glad. Yeah. I'm so glad.
They agreed to give.
Because then very soon we'll have jets coming in.
Yeah.
And so have a much bigger... So, on the one hand, we're happy that more people will come in and come in more quickly. But on the other hand, we have more and more pressure on the infrastructure. But luckily, many small hotels have propped up and have helped a great deal in accommodating the tourists. How are you going to handle your roads and how are you going to handle the traffic, etc. It really it's up for the government's ingenuity to decide. But as far as Sri Aurobindo Society is concerned, all I can pledge on behalf of this institution is that we will cooperate totally and fully with the government of Pondicherry. And with any activity which brings out the beauty of culture of Pondicherry. So many aspects, so many different dimensions of culture that are there, and all of you here to get together and talk about it and bring out the niceties of all these aspects. And I look forward to listening to all of you, and I wish you all the very best. And Dominic, I'm surprised we have been in Pondicherry for the last 30 years together and we haven't met. This is the beauty of Pondicherry. So thank you so much. It's great meeting you all. Dr. Naram, I know very well.
Thank you so much, Pradeep Bhai, for your inspiring words. Listening to Pradeep Bhai in special occasions, although he speaks a little, but he creates something foundational things. Very informative and inspiring words. I am very much grateful to be here. So may I now request the President of Alliance Française Puducherry, Dr. Satish Nalamji, to kindly share his ideas in this occasion, please.
Good afternoon, bonjour, as I say in French, as I start the day. Mr. Pradeep Naram, the Chairman of the Aurobindo Society, Dhoni Budal, Ashok Panda, Mr. Uday Shankar, the Health Secretary of Government of Pondicherry, panelists. It's a pleasure for me to be here, being invited in the Aurobindo Society, the prestigious Aurobindo Society. I'm very happy that the movement of cultural heritage and preserving the heritage in the context of Pondicherry has become a very important topic today. And on behalf of Alliance Française, apart from promoting French language and culture to the population, it is also our social commitment in the preservation of built-in heritage and also promoting cultural exchanges between the two countries, India and France. As you know, the Alliance was started in 1889 after the first Alliance in Paris in 1883. The luminaries of France, Louis Pasteur, Jules Verne, the famous publishing house Armand Collin, they all wanted to promote the French language to the outside population. So this was probably in the late 1870s. Then after the first one in 83, Pondicherry is the first in the continent in Asia. In 1889 it was started. And simultaneously there were alliances in Saigon and Mauritius. So the Pondicherry Alliance is now 134 years old, the oldest in the network, and we are continuing our mission, promoting the language and also cultural exchanges. In the context of cultural exchanges, we invite local population to do a lot of events with us. We promote workshops. In fact, we had Ashok. I think last year, did you talk, Ashok, on cultural heritage? Ashok Panda? Is he?
Sure.
You were there last year, no, with us in Alias. We were talking about the heritage buildings in Pondicherry. So, what is the role of Alliance in Pondicherry? It is not just promoting language; it is also intercultural exchanges. Coming to the subject of Pondicherry, as a son of the soil and being brought up here, I have a lot of commitment towards Pondicherry. Apart from the built-in heritage, preserving the heritage, the rich heritage of Pondicherry, thanks to the contribution of the French influence and also Franco-Tamil influence. This is something very unique. We have buildings which are not seen all over the world. If you see the buildings in Pondicherry, probably you'll see in Mauritius, in Réunion, and in New Orleans in the US. Not even in France, you will see buildings what you see in Pondicherry. So something very unique, and the tourists who come to Pondicherry, it's very interesting for them, especially the heritage town. It's no more the white town, the heritage town of Pondicherry. So it's very nice that after the Heritage Festival, which was started in 2015, the 9th edition, creating awareness to the local population, and also we are getting a lot of tourists for the events of the Heritage Festival. As Alliance is a venue partner, and we also do a lot of events promoting the cultural exchanges. In fact, this year we had, after the inauguration of the Heritage Festival, we had the World Water Festival also on the 2nd of February, the World Wetlands Day. So that is something very interesting after I was there in that inauguration, to know the seriousness of water in Pondicherry. That is something which we have to really consider that also. When it comes as a tourist destination, there is an explosion of tourists now in Pondicherry. It's not the same what we saw Pondicherry 20 years back or 30 years back. The boulevard population was, if I'm not mistaken, was around 50,000 or within a lakh. Now you see the number of hotels, even the same street where we are sitting now, and also the adjacent streets, the number of restaurants, hotels, how much they consume water, how much of issues with sewage or garbage. These are all things which we have to really consider for Pondicherry in the future, how we are going to manage the situation, and how the people of Pondicherry are going to accept tourists. So, tourists coming to Pondicherry is good as when it comes to the revenue of Pondicherry, and also I was told by the Minister of Tourism, apart from the GST, the second most this is the third source of income after GST, excise duty. The third is tourism for Pondicherry. So it's important that it survives on its own, the source of income. But also we should see how detrimental it is when there's an explosion of tourism when it comes to preserving the rich built-in heritage and also the natural heritage. The natural heritage consists of the beaches, the lakes. Aurobindo Society has created beautiful parks and gardens, and also we have the mangrove forest. These are all certain things which we have lost in the past because of the concrete, the evolution of concrete jungles. So it's also important that the natural heritage of Pondicherry also to be considered. Apart from the cultural heritage, there is a natural heritage which is definitely detrimental to the future. So with this, what is our role of not only it's easy to blame the governance, but it's also important the role of like-minded people to sit around and discuss how best we can do this in the greater interest of preserving the rich heritage of Pondicherry. With this few words, I leave it to the eminent panelists who are going to have a lot of discussion on this, and I'm sure we are going to have very good inputs. With this, government officials are here, and they'll definitely take it forward. We are also meeting on the 15th of March at the Alliance. We're going to have a discussion on responsible tourism. I'm told to talk about the wellness part. When it comes to wellness, I think the Aurobindo Society, the Aurobindo Ashram, these are something very important for Pondicherry when it comes to spiritual tourism. So we are happy that we are already having a strong base for spiritual tourism, which integrates well with wellness. Wellness tourism is something which we are not really explored. That's being done very well in states like Kerala and the neighboring countries, even in Sri Lanka. Why not wellness tourism in Pondicherry? This is something which will definitely do very well with our local infrastructure, the kind of the therapies we can offer, apart from what is being popular in Pondicherry, and also the food, local food. So these are all things which will definitely integrate well. And also wellness is something which requires a lot of green space, which we should also see how we can preserve the natural heritage of this country. This few words
Will you expand on this wellness part?
Yeah, see, wellness tourism is something where people come as a tourist destination and also explore how they can have a well-being in the form of physical health, spiritual health, and psychological health. So this is very, very important. I think we already have the spiritual part here in Pondicherry. Why not we explore the other aspects, psychological part, the physical health. So this is a lot of tourists
playing a big role in physical part also.
Yeah, we are playing, but I don't want to say that I'm my profession is getting greener because what's happening is when you see a lot of tourism, you have a lot of street food. There is a question of hygiene. So if they're not doing well, they come to us. that's the green part of mine. But that's not good for the tourists. So what is important is the wellness tourism is something very special. It's very expensive. There is a target crowd for that, and they don't mind spending. If you see centers like Bangalore, the Zindal Institute, or even in Kerala, they spend few lakhs for just a couple of days, just for getting treated with the Ayurvedic massages and the food they offer. There is a crowd for that. Why can't we explore that in Pondicherry? Because we already have a base for that. And the only thing what I feel is maybe there is a limitation of space in Pondicherry. May not be a big state like Kerala, but if you see the green part of it is not that big compared to other states. Maybe we have to move out of the town, the boulevard, and look towards Kadlur side or towards the ECR road. Otherwise, Pondicherry is, I love this town, and I'm sure all of you agree with that. Coming to Pondicherry, nobody says it's a bad experience.
There used to be an advertisement, when you drive down on ECR, every few 100 meters there used to be an ad which the Pondicherry government brought out. Fantastic advertising it was by Pondicherry government. And one particular ad said, "When time takes a break." This was one particular ad which hit nail on the head actually. How people started being drawn to Pondicherry when time takes a break. It was wonderful it was. I don't know who did that advertising. It was obviously a private party which did that. One after another, the advertisements were driving down on ECR. Especially the last bit when time takes a break, which was wonderful really.
Yeah, really.
Even see Pondicherry, people from outside, the Pondicherry water was so popular.
It's sweet.
When it was sold as a mineral water, the Pondicherry water was so popular, and people used to know, where is this place? In fact, I was surprised when the tourists, I met them when I was transiting the Sri Lanka. They were asking, where is this town Pondicherry? So a lot of people didn't know about Pondicherry. They knew Sri Lanka better than Pondicherry. Of course, India means they always connect to northern part, Delhi, Rajasthan. Now, Pondicherry is the most preferred destination. So it's very good that the town has become so popular. At the same time, I don't know whether we are really geared up for that situation as the most popular destination in the country. With this few words, I leave the guest speakers to talk, and also we have a rich session with the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Satish Nagamji, for sharing your credible ideas how we can make this city as a beautiful and this wellness tourism. These are the very new and unique things which needs to be addressed. Before we start the panel discussion, I would like to say a few words. That Sri Aurobindo Society's initiatives in the ideas of Indian art and culture, especially Sri Aurobindo on Indian art, Vallabha Rock and architecture, very unique projects the last years they have done. So, this AuroBharati, the initiative of Sri Aurobindo Society, is to explore the grand cultural heritage of India on many dimensions. Like, it is not confined to, when we talk about culture, it's an interdisciplinary approach. We see the culture, architecture, art, even in the festive celebration, the oral traditions also, because all these things are interdisciplinary. So when we thought about this today's symposium, we very carefully chosen this topic, cultural heritage conservation and sustainability. What exactly it means? I would like to quote one of the lines by Sri Aurobindo's. Sri Aurobindo, the Renaissance in India, and other essays on Indian culture, is written on a heritage that still India alone can preserve in its intricate truth and dynamic order. He is referring to the defense of Indian culture, how this Renaissance and the rediscovering of the spirit can be related. It was in 4th May 1936, I was reading some of the what Sri Aurobindo has told on Pondicherry. One of his disciples is asking the question that it is like the rebirth of Pondicherry when Sri Aurobindo arrived, and the reply was, Pondicherry was born long ago, but if X means the rebirth, it may be. for it was absolutely dead when I came. Sri Aurobindo has also written that Pondicherry is my place of retreat, my cave of tapasya, not of the ascetic kind, but of a brand of my own inventions. The Pondicherry is also considered the French Riviera of the East after the advent of the French colonization in India. And when we study this grand cultural heritage of this land, it is divided in terms of the tangible or intangible forms. Like we have the monuments, the builds, like the Pondicherry government now listed, I think 114 numbers of buildings under the heritage buildings. Pondicherry is one of the unique cities which has given the Saiva manuscript to the UNESCO's Memory of the World Register. We have Mahakavi Subramanya Bharatiya's unique writings in terms of language and literary studies. We have many inscriptions, and Dr. Dominic Goodall is going to talk on this specific subject. So there is a great scope to work in terms of tangible and intangible cultural heritage, in terms of oral traditions, the manuscripts, inscriptions, and the festive celebrations as well. And apart from the cultural heritage, as Dr. Satish Nallanji told, that we have the natural heritage. I'd like to mention in 2003's convention of the UNESCO, it includes intangible, cultural and natural heritage. It is not only confined to the cultural heritage. A specific emphasis was also given how this natural heritage can be conjured along with the cultural heritage. So with this, we plan for this today's symposium, and we hope we have, and I welcome Dr. Sahuji from Pondicherry University, Dr. Govardhan Sahu. He is the Assistant Professor from Department of Ecology and Environmental Sciences. And we hope that through these discussions we will be able to find some ideas. And we have also started many projects here in terms of intangible cultural heritage and documentation of the monuments and historic sites in Puducherry. We are also trying to organize some of the capacity building programs. I was also discussing with Sir, the Secretary from Department of Health. These are the avenues where we can work. So we'd like to listen from the panelists. So first I would like to invite Dr. Dominic Goodall, because he...
So thank you very much indeed for your kind invitation. As was just mentioned, I've been here for something over 30 years, but this is the first time I've come into this building. And I was not entirely sure of the topic, but other than that it was to be about Pondicherry inscriptions, so I hope you will bear with me. Please do stop me if I need to, if I'm overrunning time or anything. So just in case you have some difficulty situating me, I put this slide up. This is where I work, the École Française d'Extrême-Orient. And we've been working on a number of topics. We're closely associated with the French Institute. Most of the publications on Indology of the French Institute are co-publications with our office. And I was indeed the author of the dossier addressed to UNESCO for recognizing the Schreiber manuscripts as a Memory of the World collection back in 2004. So, but among our many interests is epigraphy. So you can see here's a workshop that took place in 2007 with many participants from outside. And in 2006, we brought out this book, Pondicherry Inscriptions Part 1. The translation came in 2010. And this is an attempt to gather together and edit the inscriptions of the Pondicherry territory. So, well, as you may know, people started gathering inscriptions back in the 19th century, Indian inscriptions, and and Indian Antiquary started publishing things, journal inscriptions, and then a big push was made in the 1890s, and a German called Eugen Rulch started publishing in South Indian inscriptions, which many volumes came. And through the 1890s, initially, It was thought that maybe in 1 or 2 years they would finish all Indian inscriptions, but gradually they discovered more and more and more and more, and then further periodicals were established to publish them. And South Indian inscriptions, I don't know how many volumes there now are, but very many indeed. The first 2 volumes, they started trying to produce both the Sanskrit or Prakrit or Tamil or Telugu text and an English translation. But almost immediately, I think from volume 3 itself, they stopped. They realized there was just no way they could cover all this material. There were so many thousands of inscriptions, estimated to be something like 30,000 pre-modern inscriptions in the Tamil-speaking South. And so it's very rare, in fact, to have a collection of inscriptions like this, which actually comes with an English translation. A lot of Tamil inscriptions are published just with a tiny summary, and there are all kinds of doubts about interpretation that remain. But so one of the few exceptions is Puducherry. Puducherry has a very particular history. A princely state remained independent until very late. And Pondicherry is another such example because of this 2-volume book. And the people credited on the front of this book are Babu Kuppusamy and G. Vijay Venugopal, who's still working in our office. He's in his 80s, but still very busy. But there were a lot of other people. I gave a little bit of a list of the figures I could remember associated with this big project over many years. So here's one of the inscriptions. I'm afraid it's rather difficult to read on the screen. I'm taking you to Bahul, so out of the white town, out of the heritage town. Bahul, Pondicherry is privileged to have a number of ancient temples. And this temple in Bahul has several inscriptions which start, you can perhaps just make out that it starts with Sri Aurobindo beyond, which is giving, and I think then 24. So it's giving the regnal year, 24th regnal year, of a king called Kannaradeva. So who is Kannaradeva? But I think many people think that the whole of South Indian history is really about the Choras. Pallavas first, then Choras, but Pandyas for some people. But there are all kinds of other forces, and Pondicherry seems historically to have been a little bit in between the Chora realm a little bit further south and the Pallava realm further to the north. And it had this period in which the Rashtrakuta king, this is usually identified as the Rashtrakuta king Krishna III, regnal years of this king were used in the inscriptions here. So this is on the entrance to the left of the Garbhagriha. I think this is to the left of the Garbhagriha in the Bahu Moolanatha Swami temple, which is this temple here. And it's a very curious temple indeed, unlike any other temple. I mean, in a way, every temple looks very similar, but then you start to look at it and realize how many things are different. One of the things that is distinctive here is this basement. It's not very clear on the slide, I'm sorry. You can see that there are various figures on the base. It's a very large base, and there's a motif of an elephant every now and then. I'm not sure how visible that is, and I can't show you the cursor. But in any case, there are various figures, and then it's punctuated by elephants shown head-on. And this is something very odd, and I think some people have speculated in the past, maybe this is Rashtrakuta style or whatever. But in fact, if you think back to your visits to Mahabalipuram or the Kailasanatha temple in Kanchipuram, this feature of having elephants facing out, often alternated with lions, is really a Pallava feature. And this could be a late Pallava influence. Which brings me again back to Bahu. One of the most famous inscriptions, that's to say, in the world of Indologists, one of the most famous inscriptions from Pondicherry is not in our book, and that's because it was discovered, it's a copperplate inscription discovered at Bahu and recording the gift of several villages to a large educational institution in Bahu back in the 9th century. So it's a late Pallava grant. And the reason why the photographs are so magnificent is because the thing is now kept in Paris. And they're all on the website Gallica. So I've given the website address. It's a under the late Pallava king Nripatunga Deva. I'm sorry if this is all very familiar to you. It's very fascinating to me that it is evidence, I think, of Pondicherry, that's to say the wider Pondicherry, having been a place associated with education from the early days. 3 villages are made as a grant to people specialized in particular Vedas, particular sutras, and to encourage the continuation of their learning. So one place of importance in the history of Pondicherry is this Bahu. Another place which has a lot of inscriptions is Tribhuvane, which, as you may know, is shortening for this Tribhuvana Mahadevi Chaturvedi Mangalam. So that is a long name which expresses that it's a village, an Agraharam, given to Brahmins who knew the 4 Vedas, Chaturvedi Mangalam, and it's named after a Chaura queen, Tribhuvana Mahadevi. This temple is full of interesting documents too. The reason why I put these names on the left here, Harivamsha, Vishnu Purana, Silapadikam, Divya Prabandham, and Bhagavad Purana, you might recognize that these are all names of texts very much associated with the mythology of Krishna. So the childhood of Krishna is something which you can see big developments over the course of time. The Harivamsha in Sanskrit, which presents itself as an appendix to the Mahabharata, is full of episodes of Krishna's childhood. There is a further evolution when we reach the Vishnu Purana, and then the famous Silapadikam, chapter 17, is a song after the death of Kovalan. The ladies of the village gather together and dance, and they dance in honor of Krishna, and various episodes are mentioned involving Krishna. And some of them are things which we do not find in the Sanskrit antecedents, that's to say in the Harivamsha Vishnu Purana. Then, of course, there's the corpus of Vaishnava literature from the deep south, from the Divya Prabandham, and then, at least according to many scholars, including myself, we reach the Bhagavad Purana, which is a magnificent text in Sanskrit, very beautiful in style, and has synthesized a lot of this mythology into one whole. Now, at this temple in Tribhuvane, you can see, inscriptions all over the walls. If you look above the frieze of lions and yaris, you can see that there are these little tiny panels of sculpture, and those tiny panels all have episodes from the epics, from the Ramayana, and some relating the childhood of Krishna. And that was what I was going to just draw your attention to. Because we have the dates given by the inscriptions starting in the early 11th century, from about 1035, I think, some of the earliest inscriptions on this temple, we know therefore that these little narrative panels are also of a similar date. And I think that this may be the earliest representation anywhere of the episode of Gopi Vastrharata, that's to say, Krishna has stolen the clothes of the Gopis, and he is hiding in the tree, and refusing to give their clothes back to them. So this is something that we see alluded to in a verse in the Silapadikam, which is almost incomprehensible, and then formed into something coherent in the Bhagavad Purana. So, in other words, this provides some evidence of the development of Krishna mythology, which we see here in this particular temple. Also, there are representations of Krishna playing the flute, which again you might think of as something which is ubiquitous and has been there from forever. But in fact, no. You look back in the earliest literature, this is not a theme. Singing, there is of course flute playing associated with shepherds and cowherds, but Krishna himself holding the flute and playing it, this is a South Indian development. Another thing that is very interesting in Tribhuvane is that it is again, it has a long grant for essentially supporting what it seems to be a college. So there are grants to the people who teach all these different branches of literature. The four Vedas, we mentioned that this is a Chaturvedi Mangalam, and Vedanta and Mimamsa, that's to say there are separate provisions for somebody teaching Vedanta, separate provisions for somebody teaching Mimamsa, separate provisions for somebody teaching grammar, Vyakarana, separate provisions for somebody teaching the Rupavatara, which again, it seems to be a lost Sanskrit text of grammar, and then separate provisions for people who are reciting the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, which is interesting because whereas the first group of things could all be seen as basically for a village of Brahmins, one suspects that having daily recitation of passages of the Mahabharata and the Ramayana is really intended for wider audience, for other people, possibly rendered into Tamil and presented for listeners of a wider group. This Tribhuvana Mahadevi Chaturvedi Mangalam extended to Tiruvannakoil, which is another large temple with inscriptions that you may well probably have visited. And so we know that this was part of the same large village, if you like. I don't have anything specific to say about those, about Tiruvannakoil and the inscriptions found there. But I should say that this Pondicherry inscriptions book also covers Pondicherry territory as a whole, and therefore it includes the site of Tirunallave, which is in fact in Karaikal, or next to Karaikal. And there you see provisions for something, a sort of prefiguring of the Pondicherry Heritage Festival. Some grant is made by a certain Sri for the annual performance of a 5-act drama in Sanskrit to be performed in front of the Dadbharameshwara temple. So that you may have heard of this temple. These days it is associated with Shanishwara. So as we now know, there's this circuit of temples associated with the grahas, the 9 grahas, and the Shanishwara coil particularly, of course, important because people are worried about the influence of Saturn, of Shanishwara. It is originally a Shaiva temple called the Dadbharameshwara, and this is where this provision is made. Okay, I think I've finished taking you on a little tour of Pondicherry inscriptions. What I meant to do was emphasize that Pondicherry may just seem like a little bit of India, not very special in history, but of course every little slice of India has amazing remains, and it's taken together that we can understand the wider history. And Pondicherry contributes quite a few nuggets of very precious information to the grander picture of the evolution of Indian culture. There's one other important body of inscriptions which I haven't mentioned and which are not in this book, and that's these. Yes. So I didn't recognize Dr. Ravichandran when I came into the room with his beret and his mask on. I didn't realize that, but of course he is going to speak about this, so I do not need to say very much. I will just say that this is, in a way, one of the great treasures of Pondicherry, but somehow neglected, and that is because if you go into the museum today, I mean no criticism of the museum authorities, but it is very hard to see what you're looking at when you're looking at these inscriptions, and really further explanation is required. This is a little post-firing inscription on a shard of pottery, and people read it as Kubira Ha. I'm not sure about the Ha. What is certain is that, so this is one of more than 60 fragments of inscriptions in Brahmi written on potsherds, which were discovered at Arkamedu. And they may not look very interesting, but I think that they really are at the heart of big discussion at the moment, because, as you may know, Professor K. Rajan of Pondicherry University, some years back, started to formulate the hypothesis that writing in India did not start, as we all learned as school children, with the Emperor Ashoka. So the standard narrative is that Ashoka saw Kharoshthi, he saw Greek, he saw other people inscribing things, and then by imperial command, he created a new script, and that script is what we all have today in different forms, in Kannada script, Telugu script, Devanagari script, Marathi script, and so forth. And in a way, this may be the case, but a lot of the other early script fragments are not dated, and I think Professor Rajan has proposed that some of them may date to as early as the 6th century BC. Now, if this is true, this completely upends the story of Ashoka creating script. And I think that there has been a major study by Professor Mahadevan, Ayurauta Mahadevan, on Brahmi inscriptions. But what he has looked at principally, I think maybe exclusively, are the stone inscriptions. And what is very interesting, however, is all of these graffiti on potsherds, which, so I don't know whether you can see that, but they come on, if ceremologists, people who are trained to look at old pottery, straight away see that there are all sorts of different types of pottery, and from these different types there are many things, and I'm hoping that maybe we'll speak about this later. From the different types of pottery, you can have different conclusions or different hypotheses about their dates and so forth. Anyway, these various fragments are very difficult to date, very difficult to read, very difficult to interpret, and so forth. But Pondicherry contributes with its more than 60 fragments a very large chunk of this extraordinary material. And whereas the stone inscriptions, so here's an example of a stone inscription from quite near here, Jambai in Kalakuchi. The stone inscriptions we find them all over the place, that's to say, length and breadth of India, more or less. But these pottery inscriptions, they don't seem to have been found anywhere in North India. They do not seem to have been found anywhere north of sort of northern Andhra Pradesh, I think I'm right in saying. Maybe there are new things that have been discovered. But one of the things that, and yes, a lot of the stone inscriptions are, of course, Prakrit. I mean, this is a little bit exceptional because it is Prakrit, at least some of it is Prakrit. Some of it, however, is Tamil, but it doesn't seem to have the distinctive Tamil letters of Tamil Brahmi, unlike many of these potsherds. So I don't know whether you can see this, but there's a thing which looks like the base of a capital I, but with nothing at the top. That is it's sort of in the middle here, Neduman. That's interpreted as an N, but it is a dental N, whereas Tamil, particularly the ends of names, uses alveolar ends, and these are represented differently. So the very first character that is fully visible here has this hook over the top, and that you see is an alveolar N. As if I say Kannan, this N at the end is supposed to be alveolar. So this really is my last slide, and all I was going to say was that for cultural heritage, of course, if you want tourists to do other things in Pondicherry than linger around the centre of the town and enjoy the bars and restaurants, then one has to supply better information to them about what it is that you can see that is of interest. I think that everybody knows that the temples are of some interest, Bahu, Tribhuvanai, Tirunelveli, but there are temples, of course, all over India. But one of the things that really is incredibly special in Pondicherry is this corpus of Brahmi inscriptions, which look deeply unexciting when you see them in a dingy museum case with no lighting and turned upside down so that you cannot read them and so forth. But we really need to make some effort. I think somebody needs, like Ayurauta Mahadevan, first of all, to produce a complete study of all the fragments, where they've been found. I mean, now it seems to me a really exciting and important research question which has been opened up by Professor Rajan, and this is one of the things that Pondicherry must do in the coming years. And I think that many people have seen this, and there have been many attempts to found museums or information centres or whatever at AuroBharati, but until now no success has been met, and the result is that we are somehow ignorant, and tourists are ignorant, of this really important piece of cultural heritage, important not just for Pondicherry, important for the whole of India and Southeast Asia. All of these countries, Cambodia, Thailand, Indonesia, they all took their script from Indian script models and developed them. Thank you very much indeed.
looking at all the manuscripts and what you have collected over a period of time, do you see there was any deception in this, like loss of documents or loss of descriptions? Was there a period where you found that there is a big gap starting from the dynasties you have come across?
Well, there are always enormous gaps in history. I mean, things, documents are missing all the
particularly
time.
Pondicherry.
Well, I mean, when you look at any collection of manuscripts, palm leaf manuscripts in South India are supposed to survive about 300 years. When I first came and started looking at manuscripts in South India in 1991, I photographed some of them, but had very poor results. I came back in subsequent years, I photographed the same manuscripts. The borders had gone missing, more letters had been eaten by worms, all of this happened. Now that, so one of the conditions when UNESCO awarded us the status in 2005 of having a Memory of the World collection, which in fact is the collection of the French Institute and a much smaller collection of Vaishnava manuscripts in Ecole, one of their requirements was that we put everything into AC, and that does seem to have slowed the pace of the worms eating the manuscripts. Of course, constantly the manuscripts are being cleaned with lemongrass oil in the French Institute, and we seem now to have won the battle for the moment. With inscriptions, I mean, it's of course very common that some temples are under the control of the ASI, some are under Hindu religious and something endowments, sorry, I forgot, HRCE, so, when they're in active worship. A lot of temples, although they're old, they're living things, and people, and rightly so, continue to develop them. But very often this means that they build shrines out and stick them onto the side. So quite often on an old Chorapuri temple, you will see that the inscriptions start on the south side. The south side is also the side where you typically see Dakshinamurti. And very often, all around the Dakshinamurti shrine, people put more and more elaborate structures to enclose them, and that covers the inscriptions which are lost. I mean, whenever you slap concrete on something, there's a kind of rising tide of concrete. The concrete bonds with the stone and then breaks it. It destroys the whatever was there. I spoke about how in the 1890s people thought, well, in a few years, maximum 10, we'll cover the whole Indian record. Now they are we're somewhere in about 1916, let's just say. The annual report of Indian epigraphy publishes then all the inscriptions that have been discovered in campaigns to field trips to go and discover what inscriptions are there in different temples. And every year then there are these great lists published. And actually publishing, let's just say, producing full text, and then let alone not even getting to translating, publishing those inscriptions has reached about the year 1916 with the annual report. In other words, we're about a century behind. There's so many more inscriptions, and many of them are being lost because they're being covered by concrete, because people don't know better. They don't know that these things might be precious. And it's difficult to see them as precious when you see them as slightly scrubbly pieces of writing that often don't record anything that by itself seems worth preserving. So a large number of inscriptions simply say, I, such a person, give 96 undying goats for the maintenance of an undying lamp, Nanda or Nanda Vilakti. And this kind of information by itself, isolated, is not necessarily very interesting. But when you build it into a larger picture, it's like these fragments here, individually. I mean, I cannot really read this, and I think nobody has proposed an interpretation of this particular fragment, but I may be wrong. In any case, it's not individually that you're going to get very much out of it, but when you put it together with a larger picture, and you put it together with the pots and fragments discovered in similar sites in North India, and when you put it together with the stone inscriptions of the same period, then some picture emerges and you can see interesting things about the evolution of spirit, I think.
Do we have a museum for epigraphy somewhere down south?
I don't think anybody has ever made a museum for figure. It's a beautiful idea in a way, but in a sense that's what we need to do.
Yeah,
I mean, I think Ravi Chandran knows this better than me. For many years he's been trying to encourage further greater interest in Arikamedu, and I see something of his missionary zeal has gradually rubbed off onto me. But I don't think that you can really by itself do just epigraphy in a museum, because not enough people will be interested.
Which one?
The library at the Mahal,
Yes.
yes.
That's the only place where they have selected
Oh.
museums that they are keeping like objects.
Okay.
It's not like a museum.
But I heard there is a project somewhere in Hyderabad. They want to do epigraphy in museums. I was told.
Economical things are there, but that's pretty museum or epigraphy.
Okay.
Of course, Saturday day is very popular for the
Epigraphy.
Yes, Saturday is very rich in epigraphy. But mostly everything is in the temple. So it's not like copper plates and so on. Of course, some of the copper plates were in, for example, copper plate in France. So the larger line and track, but the huge copper plates were those graphical things that we want art in museum. Of course, it's a good idea.
No, because the government is very serious about digitalizing, the facts and start a museum. They're discussing with Louvre whether they can do a digital museum. These things are very important.
Yeah, they have good collections. I mean, Ecole has good collections of the and then Saraswati Mahal is the best one. Of course, we have one or two things in South India. One is in Tangible, and another one is in Ecole. Ecole has some collections.
This project here, so this little logo of a bull, the bull of Dhamma, we're trying with this project with European monks to try to create a database of inscriptions from different parts of the sphere of Sanskrit influence. So parts of Indonesia, parts of Cambodia, Thailand, Nepal, trying to get together large parts of this, make one corpus, because when you look at a lot of inscriptions together, you can often find inspiration from different parts. A line in the text in Nepal may help to interpret something that you find in Cambodia or South India. It's very much the same, at least until the 8th century. But there are so many points of and beyond, so many points of commonality that, and taking the whole corpus together helps one very much to interpret. I'm not sure that the Louvre actually has any expertise in this area. I mean, I read this article. I mean, the Louvre has experience in the display of objects,
Yes.
but I don't think that it has many inscriptions from the Indian world. In fact, I think it may have none. So I was curious about this.
I don't know. This is an article which I read in Hindu a couple of days back. The government wants to work with Louvre, see whether they can do a digital museum in Pondicherry.
Well, we were approached to try and provide content for an information centre on Aurobindo, and we worked, and also Dr. Ravichandran joined us. We produced quite a lot of material, but then the Director of Tourism was changed, and I'm now not really sure what the situation is, but I gather that it's all in the hands of the Archaeological Survey of India. So I don't know, we're waiting. As you know, as you perhaps know, there is a building designed to be an information centre outside the archaeological site of Aurobindo, and at the moment, as far as I know, it is still empty, but it is completed.
I already gave a proposal regarding this information center, but the proposal is something that's changed later. So again, we are discussing with the government because we have some archaeological rules and regulations, so that we have to follow. So and then we have to create new ideas without damaging the site, and following the ASI rules and regulations also. Then we can create it. Of course, I have a lot of ideas, and then we discuss with the government. Of course, I will discuss.
So, thank you, Dr. Dominic Goodall, for presenting one of the beautiful. He touched a very important subject actually. When he was presenting his ideas, I just went to my room to collect the monumental work the EFU has done. He was talking about the inscriptions, and we can show it. So this is really called because we are talking about the conservation of the cultural heritage. So how difficult it is to explore the inscriptions, the stones, the temples in the forest. But AFU has done a lot of things. They have published the inscriptions of Puducherry, 2 volumes. The first one is in Tamil, second is in English. So this is really the thing that we require, how we can preserve this heritage. If you want to see these inscriptions, you have to visit approximately 250 sites. It will take 2 to 3 years to complete those sites, but in this book, they have covered everything. So this is really the example of the conservation of the cultural heritage. And since it's a panel discussion, we found some of the ideas to setting up the new museums. We are working closely with INTAC, also developing new ideas, how the new setups can be developed. Also, we are planning to start the capacity building programs for the museum professionals. Charu is there, she is basically a museologist and a conservationist also. We visited once the AFU and just saw the whatever manuscript collections at the French Institute of Pondicherry. So we have the expertise how to make it as a proper conservation initiatives as per the ACRONS and ACRONS initiatives. We can discuss this later. So when you were talking, I just went and collected this just to show their unique initiatives they've done. So thank you so much.
Just one question. I think based on what you have been presenting, I think Bahur is often also referred to as the Chaturvedi Mangalam. So whenever we go there, they say it used to be known as Vagur and Chaturvedi Mangalam. Even the temple architecture is also based on a square format. I think INTAC has done a lot of studies on that. So is it true that both are, of course I know the builders or maybe the rulers were the same as far as Tirubhuvanai and Bahur was concerned?
I don't think it was part of the Chaturvedi Mangalam. I mean, I think that there's a separate grant, this grant, which is slightly earlier, is the one which settles Bahur. But of course, how the provisions of this foundation were maintained or not maintained, and how long they lasted, and whether they overlapped or were replaced by subsequent provisions, it's a bit difficult to tell.
Because Bahur also you have the Agraharam street, and still, even today, it is there.
But this is also about an Agraharam, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, it's under the reign of Nirpadunga. There's another...
Was it the Chola dynasty?
Well, no, that's what... So we assume that it's the Chola dynasty. But in fact, if you look on the... So very often, I think people make the assumption that when you see an inscription and it mentions Chora king, then you think, okay, this is some Chora activity. But in fact, of course, what you typically have is the regnal year of a certain king. And then somebody else records that they did something else, like gave 96 sheep or whatever. And in the case of Bahur, you have things given in the regnal year, several inscriptions given in the regnal year of Krishna III, this Rashtrakuta king. And then some inscriptions also given in the reign, I think, of Aditya II, so Chora king.
Sure.
So what you have is overlapping rules, which puts into question what is it to be a Chora temple. I mean, I think many people loosely will say, oh, this is a Chora temple, but this is the evidence is that rather that it's a late Pallava temple, and then it has some inscriptions which reflect that it's under Rashtrakuta rule, and some other inscriptions that reflect that it's also partly under Chora rule. But this grant indicates that it's in the late Pallava period, under Pallava rule. So the evidence is a bit conflicting.
But what about the drainage system in Bahur? There's a lot of mention about the canals.
The canals and also the airy system.
That's
the
what
Bahur
was
Lake.
started by the Cholas.
The Bahur, I think there's a lot of references on the Bahur Lake as well. How many villages were connected, and especially the Pinachikuppam village, like Irepunai something. So where there used to be dairy supplying milk to so many villages. So I think there are such inscriptions as well. That is what I was. I think Kupaswamy was from Bahur, I think.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
I had interactions with him at that time, so he used to say that. There is one more temple in Madagadipet, Andiyarpalayam.
Yes,
Which is also
that is part of the Tirubhuvanai Chaturvedi Mangalam.
Is there a difference in the temples? Because most of these temples were Shaiva temples
No, but
during
is
the
it true that
Chola
there are
period.
Shaivite temples or Jain temples?
Well,
Now, if you see
This
the Varadaraja Perumal, it's the Vaishnavi temple.
Yes, the Varadaraja
Perumal.
Perumal.
It's listed in the UNESCO also. The Varadaraja Perumal temple, Tiruvavannai. It's not the same with Bahu. Does it?
Yes, well, what gets onto the UNESCO list and what doesn't is a bit arbitrary.
Yeah.
And the history of that is complicated. But in any case, Tiruvavannai, that temple is a Vaishnava temple.
Vaishnavi temple.
And the Moorlanatha Swami is clearly Shiva, as is Tiruvavannai.
So I think there is also a need to rewrite the whatever you can call it as Pondicherry, but the old South Arcot district. I think this entire history needs to be relooked at because there's and Arikamed I think is very historic. So I think there's huge gaps in between. So I think this was a fantastic idea, and that we are discussing it in the Heritage Festival.
Yeah, I think an extensive dialogue is needed. How both the institutions can work together in this area in terms of preserving the inscriptions and to do some research work like this. So thank you, Dr. Dominic, for presenting such a beautiful idea, and we look forward to work with EFU. And may I now request our senior Sri Aurobindo. They are doing a lot of work because INTAC has its identity. The name is enough to establish what exactly they are doing in the field of heritage conservation. So, AuroBharati, please.
Thank you, Kishor. So, the topic is very different than the area that we are working. I don't want to talk too much about the architectural heritage of Pondicherry, which is already, fairly prevalent and well known in Pondicherry and outside. But I think what is also very important to understand is there is now happening a cultural integration in Pondicherry in terms of the intangible heritage. The local Tamil culture, the influence of the French, the influence of Sri Aurobindo Ashram, and then you have Auroville. And along with that, you have people from all over the country who have made Pondicherry their home. Apart from Auroville, where we have people from all over the world who come and live. So that is an area which has developed over the years in Pondicherry very quietly. There is no one organization, but multiple people at multiple levels working on the cultural aspect, the soft power of natural heritage. So that is something which I feel is very, very important in Puducherry, but not much talked about. And I have the opportunity to meet people coming from all over the country. And apart from the architectural heritage, there is a feeling amongst people, young and old, who visit Pondicherry. The first thing that they express to me is there is something special about Pondicherry. We can't express what it is, but there is something special. So I believe this is actually the next big phase of growth, where Pondicherry will develop into a city which it becomes like a melting pot of different cultures. It is happening very gradually, but I believe that will be the next big step, where Pondicherry will come into prominence much more for its people, its intangible heritage, apart from the architectural heritage, which already is very much prevalent. But the next big real challenge today, in fact not the next, the present challenge, is sustainability. I think that is one area where we are already beginning to fall behind. Sustainability in all its aspects, in the sense that city has grown beyond its capacity. There is too much happening within the old town. But what a lot of people actually tend to forget, that Pondicherry is approximately 390 square kilometers, almost 22 kilometers towards Cuddalore, 15 kilometers towards the university. So there is a lot of scope for developing Pondicherry in the outlying regions, where the government has not actually made too much effort. unfortunately with the government, what happens is government is reactive. They are always trying to solve the problems which crop up immediately. There is never a kind of a plan to look at the future, to plan for the future, to plan for the next 10 years. So those are areas that Pondicherry is beginning to already fray at the edges, where we need to look at problems today. Problems, as Dr. Nallam said, problems of parking, problems of traffic, things which we never imagined 15, 20 years ago. When I first came to Pondicherry as a young student, it's a small little town, unknown. Not only unknown within Tamil Nadu, very little known in the whole country. Distances were rather big. We didn't even have a broad gauge line from Pondicherry to Chennai. We used to take the overnight train, sit down at the station at 9 and reach Egmore station the next morning. Traveling by bus used to take 5 hours. You know, from a position where Pondicherry was a completely unknown city in the country today, I have met young people, I have met people from all over the country. There is a buzz about Pondicherry. And that is also going to be the big challenge. How we manage the growth, how we manage the development, not forgetting the integration of different cultures. Because unless we manage the physical infrastructure, I'm afraid the other parts of Pondicherry are going to suffer. The natural heritage, the intangible heritage, the cultural heritage, and the integration of all these different aspects of Pondicherry. So the big challenge is not tomorrow, the big challenge has already started now. And that's an area where we all need to work together. Thank you.
Thank you also, Greg, for presenting your initiatives, particularly the built heritage, and he spoke about the intangible cultural heritage. Ashok Bhai and their team from the INTAC, the Puducherry chapter especially, and when we were at Delhi, Charu, they connected with the INTAC Delhi chapter, we visited and saw the level of work they are doing actually, in terms of setting of new museums, redesign, development of the Pondicherry Museum also, this craft bazaar, everything. It is the gift of the INTAC. They have done beautiful things they have done for the INTAC thing. But we still hope that many things are needed, just like this Bharati Park, some news came 2-3 days ago, how it is presented. When we talk about the museums, like those virtual museums nowadays, it is very popular. We have to make these initiatives, and I hope that many projects can be done on this direction and we can jointly do this together. And thank you also Bhai for sparing a valuable time. We have Mr. Paul from Sarbam. He is the assistant professor from the Tagore Arts and Science College, and he is also part of the Sarbam Access project. When we talk about the heritage, we see the villages have their unique cultures actually. So we would like to listen from Mr. Paul that what are the initiatives they have taken and how beautifully they are preserving this heritage through their activities. Mr. Paul.
Thank you. So first, this is the video, like a short video which we have prepared. Please have a look at this video, and then I'll explain to you how Sri Aurobindo Society is working on conserving the cultural heritage of Pondicherry. That's where I am trying to focus on. Like we are trying to focus on how Sri Aurobindo Society is preserving our cultural heritage. Thank you. I'll play the video now. So we are actually working in the rural villages of Pondicherry and Tamil Nadu. We are working in the rural village of Pondicherry and Tamil Nadu. For the past 19 years, Sarvam is working for the betterment of women, students, and our main focus is livelihood And by doing this work, what we are doing is we are preserving the cultural heritage of Pondicherry. So that's what actually you are just having a look at the video. I'll explain to you in detail how we are doing it and how the culture is preserved. So these are all villages where you have people of Pondicherry who are living in the outskirts of Pondicherry who do not know anything about what's happening in the real town. They are totally away. You have nothing to do with the audiovisual aids or internet facilities. They are all like when we started 18 years back, nothing was there in this village, especially with students, with women, even the men in the village. But after Sarvan's works there, now lots and lots have changed. And they are understanding our cultural heritage. The people have started understanding the cultural heritage. We are conducting various programs there to motivate students. We conduct these games, and education is one of our main focus. We teach them science, basic science, we teach them English, we have this children's corner on weekends, usually on Saturdays and Sundays. We meet them. Trainers from all over the place, they come, and we have a program called English Access Micro Scholarship Program. I'm actually an English trainer there. We teach them English for 2 years, like each batch, we teach them English for 2 years. So these are all some of the works. We teach them computer. It's a collective work which we are doing there in the villages. Special medical camps. Because hygiene is very important. You know how much we suffer during the pandemic. Like most of the people here do not have any knowledge about self-hygiene, personal hygiene and all. But we train them, in women empowerment, cattle rearing, agriculture, petty shop, with the help of many CSR initiatives with Indian Bank, L&T. Like this, a lot of things are happening in the villages in Pondicherry and the rural parts of Tamil Nadu. These poor ladies, they don't have any exposure at all, but we make them, we bring them together, we conduct lots of programs, we take them to exposure visits. We have this community radio station called Puducherry, which is located in the village itself. Through this community radio station, we conduct programs. RJs from famous radio stations come and they interact with students. So, Okay, thank you for watching this short video. So here I would like to explain. See, preserving our culture is very important. That's what actually we work on. Because we are now marching towards empowerment, development, this and that. But how much are we working towards preserving our culture? That is where I think we are lacking. And especially in villages, especially in with students. Actually, now students, they are busy with their mobile phones or with the internet world. Most of them, like we have forgotten like our culture, our tradition. But what Sri Aurobindo Society do is, you know very well, in villages there are the caste differences there, and many culture and variation. People like where they have different groups of people are there in village. What Sarvam actually does is, we go there and we try to make people to come together. Even in a small village, you have variations. A set of people will celebrate one festival in another manner, and another set of people in another manner. But what Sarvam started initially is bringing people together and make them understand about our culture and celebrate together. So that is what first Sarvam did. And then, a celebration called Pongal. Especially, I don't know, in the cities, we don't celebrate Pongal, we just stay at home, or most of the Pondicherrians who are in the city, we just go away, we go for some tourist spots, we don't even come to beach but the real celebration happens in the villages, on the third day, that is, we have this Matu Pongal or we have this cultural Pongal. It happens there in village. Earlier, what happened before the intervention of Sri Aurobindo Society, people were celebrating separately, but we brought them together, we made them understood that it is a culture, we have to celebrate it together, and then now we have on Pongal, like on all the 4 days, we have programs, all the people will be together and they'll be celebrating our festival together. And then what we do, we take students, we give more important emphasis for students, we take them to, we have brought them for this Pondicherry Museum, we have taken to Arikamed also. So what we are trying to do is, we are making the students understand the cultural heritage of Pondicherry. Okay, and there in a village, there is a village called Karupperubakam, where we are working. In that village, for the past 15 to 20 years, they don't burst crackers in Pondicherry because they don't want to disturb the bats that are living in the trees in that village. When we went and when we asked a few students there in the Karupperubakam village, most of them were angry. Sir, whenever we go to the other villages, we see people celebrating Diwali or Pongal or whatever celebrations by bursting crackers, but in our village it's not happening. But we made them understand how important it is to not to disturb how the culture that is being preserved by our heritage, like our ancestors. Okay. Like this, what we do, and whenever we go to our Sarvam, the place where what you saw there is our Satyam Training Center in village. Our students will always say Vanakkam. Whenever you meet them, they will not say good morning. They will always greet you by telling Vanakkam. This is one of the traditions which most of us forget that. Today we say good morning, hi, hello, good morning. Because of the changes that's happening in our culture, we forget our original thing. Okay, but what Sri Aurobindo Society is doing is preserving it by small things, by asking them to say Vanakkam when we meet elders or anyone, by making them celebrate things together, by making them understand the ponds and lakes in villages. Preserving them. Most of the ponds in the villages are not preserved. We help with the help of CSR initiatives, we preserve the ponds in villages, the lakes in villages, and that is how Sri Aurobindo Society is working. And I think this has to reach to the other students. We are working in around 50 to 60 villages in Puducherry as well as in Tamil Nadu. But there are many villages in Pondicherry, especially in the rural outskirts of Pondicherry. Students or people do not know the value of their own culture. As people like we, the learned people, what we have to do is we have to reach them out. We have to make them understand what really our culture is and preserve it. Once we do that, I'm sure Pondicherry will be famous than this, and I hope we'll do that with the help of all of your help. And already we are doing in few villages, and I'm sure this will continue. And I would like to thank all the panel members and for giving me this opportunity to explain what Sri Aurobindo Society is doing and how we are conserving our cultural heritage in Puducherry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul, for presenting the unique ideas. When we talk about the cultural heritage conservation, I just want to say one of the initiatives of the government when it started. The Ministry of Culture, Government of India started a project called National Mission for Manuscripts. I think in 2004 it started. They just created one sentence, but for what reason we are preserving this? For whom actually? You have mentioned this. So they created a very catchy sentence, save the past, not for the present,
For the future.
for the future. So the timeline was save the past for the future. And when we talk about this cultural heritage conservation, it's not like that conserving the build materials or the museums for whom actually. So one of the important factors of this conservation initiative is the capacity building programs to train the museum professionals, the artisans, to preserve the real form of the culture which is hidden in the rural setup actually. So they are doing a lot of things to the Sarbam and even Raghu Bhaiya through this Swarnim Puducherry project. So this is one of the unique initiatives.
We actually, I forgot to tell you one thing I would like to add upon. We focus mainly on women and girls. You know, on Saturdays and Sundays we teach them martial arts like Bharatanatyam or Karate. Because most of the students, they're not even aware of what is our original culture. What do we have to do? We are all totally become modernized, and once you instill this heritage, that our culture in them, automatically it will reach the next generation, and they will not forget. Okay, having museum, as I was telling, museum is there, everything is there, building is there, but the real culture, how day to day life, how to follow our culture, that is what we are working on. Thank you.
This is really a good initiative, and when we planned for this symposium, we added like natural, this cultural, even if I requested Senthil Vaya that if you can part of this discussion. So thank you for sharing your valuable ideas. So when we talk about the cultural heritage management and the sustainability, we find there is a great role of the traditional knowledge systems.
Yes.
Because without our tradition says they are twofold in nature. First is the Shastra, which imparts the theoretical knowledge, and the second one is the Prayog, the practical theory and practice in modern terms. So we have a lot of traditional knowledge systems, Ayurvedic and healing sciences also. So today we have an eminent speaker, Dr. Geeta Arupremi. So she will be speaking on the traditional knowledge systems, especially the Ayurvedic sciences, and in the beginning there was a discussion about the wellness tourism or the wellness aspects of this. So I request Geeta Didi to kindly present her views on this topic, please.
Thank you so much, Kishorji, to invite me here. Traditional knowledge system, Ayurveda, is a very ancient system. And if we look what is Ayurveda, so it is not only healing system, but it is a prevention also. And very beautifully in Ayurveda is given lifestyle. So what is Ayurveda? Longevity of life, science of life. So how to expand our life, how to live healthy, happy and spiritual life. That is the aim of Ayurveda. And Sri Aurobindo has told here and given the integral healing. And spirituality is the only aim of our life. because we have within spiritual part Chaitya Atma. So how to realize that? And for that, body is an instrument, mind is a light, and pran is a path to search our soul. I will acknowledge descent from the Brahma, not any person. Descent from Brahma, and after Rishi Muni has that received that knowledge, and Rishi means research scientist. They have done inside first research within, and after they have given the books. So Ayurveda came from direct to the Brahma, creator. Definition of Ayurveda: Hitahitam Sukham Dukkam Ayustasya Hitahitam Manam Cha Tatra Cha Bhaktam Ayurveda Sa Uchyate. So what is good for us? What is bad for us? How to heal ourselves, our own? We have that power in our body to heal ourselves if we take good knowledge of Ayurveda. Aim of Ayurveda: Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam Aturasya Vikar Prashanam Cha. So we have to protect our health, and if we have any problem, how to heal, that is given in Ayurveda. I think in Pondicherry, I have seen some Kerala Ayurvedic center, some Siddha medicine practitioner, and from central government, I think Ayush started here. I have aspiration to make in Pondicherry beautiful residential integral healing center. Light of Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy, and that Mother Sri Aurobindo's integral healing system. In Ayurveda told, who is Swastha? When I take knowledge in Gujarat Ayurveda University, my undergraduation and post-graduation, we learn that Samadosa, Samadnischa, Samadhatu, Malakriya, Prasan, Atmendriya Manaha, Swastha Itya Vidhiyate. Harmony is a health, and this harmony is a problem. So if we keep harmony within our mind, thought, feeling and action. Swa-astha. So we sit with our swa, our soul, and we do all the action from the center. So we have everything in balance. This body of ours is a being of beauty, like a temple, clean and pure. It's a sacred pedestal. It is like a pillar because our body is a vertical. Animal has a horizontal body. So we have power to connect with the higher consciousness and to bring down that. Mother and Sri Aurobindo has worked here, and they have successfully descent the supramental consciousness upon earth. So it is only here, and here we have self, Atma, and Atma sent inside body Chaitya Atma, his messenger. So I am basically MD gynecologist. So in Ayurveda told, when we have labor pain, that by Navame Teja, that messenger is coming inside. He is waiting for complete his house beautifully. So 9 months complete in womb. Baby is complete growing and they start to take birth. That time only that Chaitya Atma is enter the inside. And after the first breath, he comes to grow. So our aim of life, matter shall reveal the spirit's face. So what is the quality of the Chaitya Atma? We can express with our work, with our eyes, with our heart, with our speech, with our thought. That is our aim of life, and for that, our body is more important. So in Ayurveda, there is a beautiful lifestyle. First, Brahma Murate Utthana. We have to wake up before 6, between 4 to 6. It is a Brahma Murat, divine time. And when we take birth, here we have a small soft part. You can feel that part, and it is a Brahma Randhra. divine door. It is a meeting point for self and psychic. So, psychic flame of aspiration and fire within us, and when we offer that, it is growing. And each breath comes from that part and return to that part. We can do only 2 minutes breath watching. You close your eyes, relax yourself, and look your breathing. Each breath you feel, it starts from the very, very deeper part, causal body. When soul is within, breathe starts. Gati mein sthiti, sthiti mein gati. When soul is there, inside within us, everything is moving in our body, in our mind. When soul is moving, everything is steady, still, and it's giving certificate to dead body. So when we look our breath, it starts from the soul, and soul is giving message, I am that, I am here. In each breath, return to the soul, offer to the soul. So we remember and offer each our breath. And when we look 1 minute our breathing, we know that breath is going slow, deeper and longer. Breathing is longer, deeper and subtle. Heartbeat always slow. And heartbeat is slow, heart purify all the body with blood circulation. It's beautiful. So it is a harmony between breathing, heart, all the system, and we realize that mind is also going very slow. So we are able to look our thought. So harmony between mind, pran and body. We can practice this. So first, Brahma Murate Utthana. Mother is told, when you wake up, you gratitude first. Gratitude to the divine. Gratitude to the whole earth. So somebody has protected our breath in the night. And after, when we wake up, as per science, as per scientific, we have morning release some hormones, waking hormone. It is a serotonin hormone. It is giving us whole day energy to work. And other so many hormones release morning. Some hormone release in the night, sleeping hormone. So as per science also we have to go to sleep before 10. So when we sleep before 10, we can wake up at 5. It is without alarm, it is a clock is within. After wake up, we have to drink 1 liter warm water. So many things written in Ayurveda, here is a time is not more. So I am not telling you whole day lifestyle, but how to take care of our teeth. Only small thing, oil pulling. You put in the mouth 10 minutes sesame oil. We have no need to go with dental doctor, I think up to 100 years. So how to take care of our eyes, how to take care of our teeth. We have to do daily nasya. 2 drops of the ghee, cow ghee, we can put in the nose, morning, a little massage. In corona time, if we can do this nasya, we have no cough and cold. We can take daily steam. It is only take 2 minutes. So how to take care of our breathing, respiratory system, our lungs, our nose. So our prana is moving whole day very deeper and longer, and oxygen we receive more. And after we can do some pranayam also. So morning, which brush we have to use? We are using plastic brush and it is made for nature, Mother Earth. So we can use neem brush. Before we are doing dhatu, it is a neem or so many trees we are doing dhatu. But now so many neem brush with charcoal. It is good for our teeth. We are not using fluoride toothpaste. We use some Ayurvedic natural toothpaste. So it is also heritage. We can prevent our nature. After food, so we have not to take non-veg food because we are the higher consciousness of the divine. In present, we are the higher consciousness of the divine human being upon earth. So we have to go more higher consciousness, supramental consciousness. So animal consciousness is the lower consciousness. Our body not accept that. So we have to take vegetarian food. If possible, vegan food. No dairy, because now in a dairy there is so many hormones, so many antibiotics. They are doing so much cruelty with the cows. They are taking milk from the pump. I have examined the milk of the cow. There is so many pus cells, so many blood cells, and so many hormones. And if we put the pump, cow has so much pain. They are crying. And that pain and everything we receive with the milk, with the curd, with the cheese, with the butter, with the ghee. So if we want to go higher consciousness, we have to take care of animals also. We have to think everyone who is the divine has created upon earth. So that is the diet part. What time we have to take food? Morning, daily, first, no tea, no coffee, no sugar. For poison in the Ayurveda, white flour, maida, white salt, sea salt, white butter, and this white sugar. These 4 poison of Ayurveda. So if we have to take care of our health, our intestine, our digestion system, because rogaha sarve mandi agnav sutram udrani cha, all disease comes from the digestion system. All disease start from the digestion system. If vata is imbalanced, other doshas also imbalance. So many things. Before morning we have to take detox juice, coconut water or bottle gourd juice or cucumber juice. Any one juice, morning vegetable juice or coconut water. After we have to take some alkaline, so some fruits. After, before 12, lunch, more salad and not more grain. After 40 years, grain not digest, wheat and rice. We have to take millets. So many millets comes, it is easily digest. After afternoon, again some herbal tea or some fruits. And before 6, we have to finish our dinner. After sunset, our body not digest the dinner. It is converted into acid and more vata. So it is the lifestyle, it is more detailed. Before go to sleep, if we can do simple pad snan. So we are whole day we are standing on our small 2 feet. So all this is again vata, arthritis and everything starts from the feet. So we can put in the hot and cold water 2 minutes, 15 minutes we can take that pad snan, put bath. After little massage, some reflexology. And after pad puja, we gratitude to our feet. Whole day he is taking us when our mind is going. And it is walking. So we gratitude to our feet. This is small lifestyle of Ayurveda. It is very, very lengthy, but today I will now do. So it is the divine presence that gives value to life. This presence is the source of all peace, all joy, all securities. Find this presence in yourself and all your difficulties will disappear. We came here to find ourselves, and for that, Ayurveda is giving us true health and prevention in health. Modern medicine is very good for emergency and accident, but in our daily life, we not able to detect all the chemicals in our body. In Gujarat, I have worked prenatal education and basically gynec, so couple education and couple purification for healthy, divine, precious, valuable and wanted child. In my MD study, I have taken 150 couple, and in 32 years I have done job in Gujarat government. So I work on 2000 couple to prepare the couple for new race. And Kiritbhai Joshi from Pondicherry, Narendra Modi take them in Gujarat and they have started Children University for this race. So how to prepare couple for divine body? 3 to 5 years it is a preparation time. In Ayurveda written for season to conceive the child. In whole year only 1 month. In 1 month only 2 days for female. This day, this time we have to conceive. For male, this day, this time we have to conceive. And all delivery comes in October and November. It is normal and natural delivery. For yogic therapy delivery, music therapy delivery, dolphin delivery, water therapy delivery. More than 2000 delivery I have done, not a single delivery abnormal. If we prepare ourselves, antenatal care, prenatal care, postnatal care, everything is given in Ayurveda, Dinacharya, Puducherry, Ratricharya, Sisucharya, Sutikacharya, Garbhinicharya. If we can follow that, we have no any problem in our life. So it is a beautiful journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Geeta Aropremiji. When we talk about the cultural heritage conservation, we find that the healthy lifestyle and wellness is one of the important factors. We have with us Dr. Raje. He is basically a medical professional. You want to say something? Please.
I just joined right now. But still, I've always seen that. I'll just make it like in a. So, heritage has got multiple dimensions. And what we spoke right now is about cultural heritage, and we have been trying to do, along with Kishor, we have been trying to do something for the children. So, on behalf of the Pondicherry Heritage Festival and Waterfest team, we have been doing some competitions for the kids since 4 years. We did something online. Before that we had physical, and now we have physical. The whole idea of reaching out to the kids, including the kindergarten kids, including the high school, high secondary, and the colleges, basically sort of the child who reads about it, what only about it, the teachers, the parents, the grandparents, they do read about it and they do understand what we are doing and what is happening. So that way, if we could touch a few families, in the community, neighborhood, it does make a big difference. So I'm sure this journey would continue with AuroBharati and with the society. So I'm sure it can go. There can be an organic horizontal growth.
Thank you, Dr. Raje. I was just trying to add, although Geeta Aropremiji left, when we talk about these traditional knowledge systems, especially the health and wellness things, and connecting to the cultures, we have a lot of manuscripts actually. So the traditional knowledge system documentation library, TKDL, under the CSIR, they have taken a unique initiative to document the rich manuscript and the traditions. And we hope that publication of the fundamental text and to reach out through these activities, this will really bring a unique idea to reach the masses. And I feel that traditional knowledge system, especially in Ayurvedic and Vedic sciences, it has its uniqueness. So this is really a good session. Now I will request Dr. Rabi ji. He is from Tagore Arts and Government Science College. he will be speaking one of the important initiatives, the excavations. He is basically an archaeologist by profession. He will tell you that what kind of excavations he has done since many decades and what are the findings, please.
And good evening to everyone. I went for a surgery, so my pronunciation is very less. So please try to apologize me for that. But anyway, I will speak my things because the words may be properly pronounced. I try my best to pronounce it. Of course, I am going to present the sources for the archaeological sources for the cultural based. Okay, I'm just going to present the archaeological sources to develop the Pondicherry tourism, both for the cultural preservation. Of course, first I will list out what are the sources we have, and the second part is the preservation and how to preserve it and conserve it for the future. But that will be discussed later. But I will tell only the sources what we have in Pondicherry. Pondicherry is a very small place. It's just a small region in compared with Tamil Nadu, and we have everything. We have everything as what we have in Tamil Nadu, okay? Both geological as well as the archaeological and cultural pattern and artifacts also we have. So I excavated many sites in Pondicherry, especially only in Pondicherry. So I will list out everything. Of course, Pondicherry. This is the mining which I have done in, of course, I'm starting from the prehistoric times. We have prehistory, protohistory, early historical times, and the medieval period, and the last one is the French period. And the French period, I have two parts. One is the early phase, and the other one is the second is the later phase. Okay, that I will discuss later. Okay, this is the quarry which I have done in Perambai, just opposite to the Puducherry lake. Of course, it was a proto-historic site where we have the megalithic burials, what we call as a burials. So in '92, I found a lot of burials when I was a student, right? And after that, I got back to India. Then I was seeing a very big trench there. And that is very helpful to me to understand the sequence of the Pondicherry geological sense. For the Pondicherry, of course, created in the time of the Jurassic, at the end of the Jurassic, it's almost in Cretaceous period. So there the sediments we have, the Carboniferous, that's a very beautiful place. Now it is very famous for the skinny people. There are a lot of shootings going on there, but we can preserve this place and we can show what are the sediments of the geological period. For example, Cretaceous. After that, Holocene. Up to Holocene, we have Cuddle Formation. Before that, Water Formation, Carboniferous, and everything is there. So this is a very nice place where we have, of course, this is the geological map of what we have. Almost whatever deposit in Tamil Nadu, we have everything here. I classified this, I'll make it very fast. As I make it a region C, region A, region B. Region A is the alluvium deposit, it's a Holocene failure. And then region C is the Cuddalore Formation, it's a beautiful red clay deposit. And between these two regions is the region C, between the B is the eroding deposit, just eroded. The seawater got back to the Pondicherry in a Cretaceous period. It formed the Karveli Lake on that side, and then region A, what we have in Pondicherry present. Okay, and this is the geological things, and these are the materials we have related, because Pondicherry was not as a very deep, what it was in deep sea, it was in shallow. So Tiruvakkarai we have wood fossils, and in Pondicherry we have a lot of small fossilization stones. The limestones are there. It is formed like this. Okay, and this is another thing we have. I found one leaf fossil in Puducherry. That is a leaf fossil. The stone. Two blocks, that is a leaf, and this is the wood fossil that I photographed in Pondicherry Museum. It is in Pondicherry Museum now, where I can find the bark of this fossil. The bark itself is showing what type of tree it is. So then the branches, that's not a branch, it's a stem. So that also I photographed in Tiruvakkarai. So Tiruvakkarai is almost our neighboring place, but anyway, for tourism we can develop it. It's a most interesting place also. And with the prehistoric sites, we have only one hand axe in Pondicherry, so we have no related. I have published one paper related with the Pondicherry prehistory. It is in a website. And these are the Neolithic type tools. They are not belongs to Neolithic period. But the people are thinking that they are Neolithic period. Almost all these collections from Pondicherry Museum, I too found something in some of them I found in Aurobindo and in Auricamid also. These are not belongs to Neolithic period. These are the Iron Age period, almost 3rd to 4th century BC. This is the Neolithic type tools which used by the Iron Age people, mostly found in Pondicherry. And this is the Aurobindo. Of course, we have the beautiful megalithic site in Aurobindo. We developed it. Of course, the top one is the Tiruvakkarai, and then the one person is sitting, that is the Perambai. But we have seen at the opposite to the Puducherry, there we have a own burial site. I took the picture in 91, all these things. That is Papua, it is Aurobindo. That is a limestone circle, that is Aurobindo. So we have a beautiful site in Aurobindo. So that is the only place I have, so I excavated it. Almost I spent 10 years for the excavation, and that I will show you how we excavated it. So this is the earliest deposit we have in Pondicherry. Pondicherry history starts with the megalithic, or what is called as the Iron Age period, almost 3rd century BC. So we got the Sutikeni gold jewels. That's a beautiful gold jewels. This metallurgy as well as iconic work of the flowers, lotus pendant, maybe it is a pendant, I guess, and there is a chain, and then the beads, gold beads, that is a treasure. We found it's a gold treasure we found from one burial, that is Sutkeni in Pondicherry. Nowhere in India we found like that. We found gold ornaments, or not 2 pieces, not treasure like this. We got 2. One part is in France now. The remaining one chain and bangle is in Pondicherry Museum. This is from Pondicherry Museum. I took the picture, and this is Aurobindo. I excavated Aurobindo because I wanted to, after finishing my Auricamid excavation, I went to Egypt, then I got back to Pondicherry, India, and I wanted to know about what was the early settlement of Auricamid before the Roman trade. So there is no sources because Perambai we lost, Sutikeni we lost, Mutrapalayam we lost. We have no sites. Everything was excavated, or the artifacts were disappeared now. So I focused on Aurobindo. Aurobindo is a very beautiful place where we have the Papa is a very good architect in Aurobindo. He did everything. So what is this? We found one traces first, and later on he was confused how to find out the burials. It is below the surface. So we made grids everywhere. Almost we made the grid from Mata Mandir down to Parthinivas. Imagine how much distance it is. So we made a grid, almost a meter we excavated. Then we traced the early pit findings. Then we started the excavation. So it took 10 years to complete the excavations. Before that we did small things, but we did major work. Of course, I was the director. I got permission from ASI, and we excavated that. It's almost very deep. We found almost all the materials found in this. You can imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meters deep. So from the top, we don't find any traces on the top. But we made a grid, explored all the areas, because our people wanted to construct the buildings and they wanted to reconstruct the city plan and everything. So what they discussed, you just remove the artifacts and then we'll do that. That is the best idea. We can save the culture as well as we can develop the site also. So we made a grid from Parthinivas down to the Matamundri entrance. If you go there, you can see the site also now. This is after finishing our excavation, we made salvage because we want to show it to the public. And these are the excavation. This is the real burials we found below the surface, where the real surface, and where the gopi is standing on the top, that is, we filled the soil. After removing the materials, we rearranged everything. It just changed the altitude, nothing else. Just changed the altitude. We placed everything. It's a horrible work, but we did everything. Only you can see it right now. We go to the Mata Mandir. At the entrance, you can see this place. We created a park, but the only thing we have to develop it and maintain it. Okay, this we have done in 2016. Of course, Aura will do it because all the artifacts were stored in Bharat, but there is no place to store it. Of course, the Aurobindo Foundation taking care about it. They are constructing a museum. I think they will finish it very fast, and we have a lot of artifacts to conserve and display it. I will show you what are the artifacts we found. This is the thing how we excavate. Okay, I found the circle and the stone slab. Above the stone slab, there is a one mounting. You can see the mounting. Below that, exactly we found the urn burials like that. Most of the burials we found like that. So what type of architectures they use, the practice, those things we can show it in a live as it is in the site. These are the copper object we found from the Aurobindo excavation. These are the only 10% I preserved. Remaining 90% were packed, and we have to do it. It's a very hard job because it's like a thin paper. It's a copper objects. Cleaned it up. Of course, I use these things to understand the cultural background of what are the lifestyle of the Aurobindo people, how they, the megalithic people in Aurobindo. Okay, this I related with them because we have hen, we have peacock, we have bull, we have deer, we have hens. All these things shows their lifestyles because of pottery, and then they were. You can see this type of birds in Aurobindo. The tanks and other things, we can see the same birds. The lily flower, you can see the same thing. We can compare the ethno-archaeology at present view and the ancient. So what type of people they were, how they lived, what was the lifestyle of the Aurobindo, ancient Aurobindo or the megalithic people in Pondicherry. These are the iron objects we found in the excavation. Axes, arrows, bows, and daggers, and all the lads and everything we found. These are the sutikini materials, the swords and other things. These are the iron objects we found in Aurobindo also. The same thing we have shown. This is the most interesting one that we have. A lot of beads we found in Aurobindo excavation. So Iron Age people, they used both stone and the glass beads. After these beads, we have etched one. Etched one means the white designing of the beads. This white designing are always done in the time of burial practices, the customs. So each family have their different. They bout like this, the cornelian beads, stone beads, and hitching it up and designing it on the top, painting it on the top, and put it in the burial. So these are the different cultures we can notice. And these are the lapis lazuli. So white color is a lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli is very famous in Afghanistan. If you rub it, you can find the blue color. Because if the white oil is there, I have to clean it, but I have no time to clean it. So the white is not bone. It's a lapis lazuli, which we found only in Afghanistan. How it reached the Aurobindo? So this is the one part I have shown. I have a large part of lapis lazuli beads we found in Aurobindo. So it has giving a good idea about how they are relating Aurobindo, Arikamedu, and Afghanistan also. So ancient time trade network before Roman came. So these are the artifacts we found all over Aurobindo. So arrow tips, Neolithic type axe, and the spade, everything we found. Now I come back to the Aurobindo, then next Arikamedu. What we have Arikamedu. Arikamedu was first noticed by La Jante in 1760, and it was then Javid Dubreuil after that dug out the site, and later on the case of French as well as the English, they excavated, they made a massive excavation in Arikamedu. In 1990 we excavated. Of course, this is the excavations I just modeled. This is the overall aerial view of Arikamedu, and there are two sectors they excavated. English, that is the British people excavated in the northern sector and southern sector. Southern sector is the industrial area, and northern sector is different. They said it's a warehouse, but it is a port activity. So you can see the difference between the architectural difference between the two sectors. That's a very long walls, that is the cannon, pits, tanks, and other things in the southern side. I will show you different, even close to that. And Kishor excavated, and those just away from that. Kishor is a French archaeologist. He excavated after Wheeler. Wheeler excavated in 1945. And Kishor excavated in 1950, and we excavated in 1990. We excavated between these two people, okay. And after that, ASI, of course, in 2003, ASI, of of course, it's a protected monument. The ASI purchased the land. Of course, government of Pondicherry was there, and they helped Pondicherry, and they wanted to promote. Jagmohan, central minister, was there. That time they wanted to promote Arikimed as a tourism. I was there, and then finally the project was dropped. Once after seizing the land, they dropped the project. I don't know what happened there, and I was transferred to Karaikal. Then I got back to Pondicherry again, and then we discussed. Again, the government is very much interested to develop it, and now the art and culture, like tourism department, is developing an information center just opposite to this bank, to the Archimedes, opposite bank of the Archimedes, and they built a beautiful building. Only thing is that the project is not finishing properly because there are a lot of confusions. How to do it? It is the problem. How to do that project is another thing, because they are not making free hands to the scholars. And I have given another proposal to Pondicherry Art and Culture Department to create an information center. I discussed with ASI also, Archaeological Survey of India and other things we discussed, and finally we proposed one proposal, but the government of Pondicherry sent the proposal to a different NGO. The NGO collapsed everything, so I cannot finalize the project. Again, we have to do the project. So Archimedes is the most interesting one. Now we see what things we can see in Archimedes. This is my painting. I just made the drawing to show how Archimedes looks at present. Okay, so these are the eroding surface, eroding sections are there. I just compared with the photographs, surface structures, and there is a mission house right there. That is a French building. Most of the people thinking that it belongs to Roman period, but it was not Roman period. That is the early bricks were used to construct the 17th century. I will discuss about the French monument. That is the only monument which is exposed on the surface, and the fishing is going on right there. This is the condition of Archimedes at present. And now we see how the early people was the Iron Age people, so that I excavated Aurobindo to preserve the materials as well as to develop Aurobindo tourism. Then I compared what things happen in Archimedes. So I compared these things. So Aurobindo is the Iron Age people. There are so many Iron Age traditions are there. They were very good in the business. Bead making industry was there. So Iron Age people settled in Archimedes. In 2nd century, they imported all the things. They manufactured beads, and they transported the beads to the local people like Aurobindo or Sutikini or some other place, where they got all the food materials like vegetables and everything from the local villages. This was the first thing, and later on the Romans started to came. This is the Aurobindo, how these Aurobindo iconographic materials how they got it. This is the most thing. So that I compared this study. And this is my different work. So this is the thing how the Romans got into the Pondicherry. So when this trade was there, that the trade developed to international level, the Archimedes became the international trading seaport. Because India was, Archimedes was the center of the ancient sea trade network that ran east and west. Because they imported the material from the Southeast Asia, and they manufactured the goods, and then again they exported to Rome, Alexandria. So this is the way. So India was the eastern coast, especially why they choose the eastern coast, because the east was very much close to relation with the Southeast Asians. So India was the center of the ancient trade network that ran east and west. Now we can see this was the Archimedes real location now, and how it was maybe 2000 years before it was like this. It is also my drawing, just I made it after my excavation. I did a lot of excavations, and with the architectural features, I made the port activities, the bead industries, the textile industries, how the ships are coming inside and then anchored there, the wharf was there, where it was actually. So everything was just this is the way how I wanted to promote tourism, other Archimedes like this. Okay? And we have different ideas also. Now Archimedes become like this. Okay, so Archimedes is the history which has only related with Indian culture, or of course the next slide we can see. This is also the Indian artifacts are just displayed. The roulated part is the most important. They use the dishes and plates. Architectural pictures, there is no foundation. They made only two cores of bricks, and they made the post holes. From there, they made the roof tiles also. We put a lot of roof tiles. There is the black and red work, conical jars. All these things are there. Just compare this architecture with the drawing. Okay. So this is the Roman trade, how it was, and Roman Arealum. We can see the Mediterranean become the lake of the Roman Empire. All the ships reached Alexandria because after my excavation Archimede, I went to Egypt because I wanted to find out how the trade goods are transported from Alexandria to Archimede. That was my aim objective. In 91, during the excavation, I went there and I surveyed the eastern desert. Of course, I will show you what type of eastern desert, how it was like this. So they went to, all the goods reached Alexandria. From Alexandria, they transported the goods to the Nile ships. First the Mediterranean ships and the Mediterranean ships to Nile ships. The Nile River, the ships sailed up to Cactus, made up the Nile River, and they transported the goods to the camels and other things. They crossed the desert. So how the Romans made the roads, the water stations, and the security watchtowers, everything for the traders. Because the Romans not only focusing the trade and commerce, they got a lot of resource from the Egypt, the eastern desert. They have the emerald, the quarries, because most of the Roman architecture were quarried from the eastern desert. So the eastern desert was very rich, and they charged it heavily also. They made a lot of duties and transportation, everything. So they crossed the eastern desert and reached the Red Sea. These are my photographs. I took the eastern desert. These are the Roman stations, water stations, and then watchtowers, everything in the eastern desert. After I excavated Abushar, Veronica, the two sites I excavated. So both are in the Red Sea coast. Then the goods were shipped to ocean seas. The ships which sailed to India. So this is the way how they transported the goods. These are the Veronica excavation. We found a pepper. The pepper in two parts. During our excavation, we found the Indian pottery filled with Indian pepper. That we found in Veronica in Egypt. That is the Indian pottery with the graffiti marks in Egypt if you found. This is from Archimede, how the Roman goods reached Pondicherry. This is the Roman amphora jars and the Roman tableware we have. So I classified every time in Pondicherry, then again they are mixing up once every time I'm going and displaying this thing. This is my duty. Okay, these are the jars. This is the most interesting one, amphoras. Amphoras are simple. Amphoras are just shipping jars to carry the goods. Okay, what type of goods they carried and what was the date, where it manufactured, everything we can understand from amphora jars. Because each material have different shapes. Because if you want to put fruits, it should be soggy. If it is oil, that should be spherical. If it is wine, that should be narrow necked, because even you can see the wine bottles nowadays, they put the narrow neck bottles. That is because of the gas and other things. So like this, they manufacture different types of shapes to carry the wine or oil or fish or fruits or whatever it is to India. We have 7 types of amphora jars in Pondicherry Museum, which I have identified. That is a non-Indian and a Spain 20. That is a bulb-shaped, spherical shaped jar for oil. This is a soggy bag. It is for the fruits. So, to explain this, we can create the model. We cannot get the full-fledged amphora jars in Pondicherry because it's not a Roman site. If you excavate a Veronica or some Roman site, we can find a full-fledged jars. Whereas in Pondicherry we have only that goods were transported and the materials were transported, then again the amphora jars were taken back. They won't leave it here. They won't sell everything in amphora jar, because amphora jars were taken back to the Rome, so that we have only fragments. Fragments means damaged things. Out of the damaged things, we found the fragments, and finally we identified what type of jars we have, what type of materials were imported to Pondicherry. And these are the materials where we manufactured. Even we got from Spain oil, Greece, Italy, France, that is Gauls, and in Africa we don't find. We find only in the Roman areas. And then these are the stone beads we have in Pondicherry. These are from the surface collection, not from the excavation. We have 2 types of beads in Pondicherry. One is a stone bead and another one is a glass beads. So these are the stone beads. The stones were imported from Coimbatore or some other regions, and the manufacturers the beads and they exported. This is the #1 bead making industry in the ancient period, because even today the people are collecting, the tourists are collecting, the scholars are collecting the beads on the surface. And we imagine these are the waste beads, not the exporting beads, because there was an industry that manufactured a lot of beads and there are a lot of waste, they just dump it here. Now we are excavating. So these are the waste beads and the real finished beads. One or two finished beads we have. Mostly we got the waste. Wastage, imagine wastage is this much. How much beads they manufacture and export. So this is the number one bead making industry in Southeast Asia. These are the stone beads, carnelian, agate, banded agate. All these things are very beautiful. And these are the glass beads. Imagine glass beads is the melting and the drawing it beads and manufactured beads. So these also they exported. It's a Roman got a very good demand. Indian beads got very good demand in Rome because the ornaments, mostly Southeast Asia, they manufactured a lot of beads. And later on this technology, I don't know whether Peter Francis has to explain the big technology where they got it, but the Iron Age people in they manufactured the beads. Iron Age people, that is before this Roman trade. Excavate Archimede, I have shown you a lot of beads in Archimede also, that also manufactured here. Okay, and then I wanted to focus on what are the inland, how many goods are imported to Pondicherry, then how they transported to the inland. So I surveyed the Gingy River, that what is called as Arangokam River. I went to P.S. Palayam, Purana Singha Palayam in Pondicherry, almost at the border of Pondicherry, where I found the beautiful site. That's a very huge site, it's almost 800 meters. We found a lot of architectural features on the surface. And then I wanted to excavate. Almost I discovered this site in 1992, 93, something like that. And I struggled to get the approval. And 2 years before I got the approval from ASI. ASI gave in 2021 they gave approval for excavation. That time Corona came. And then 22 again I got the approval. I applied for excavation. They gave approval. And that time I got the Pondicherry government gave 20 lakhs rupees to do excavation, but my principal is not permitting me to do the excavation, so I dropped it and I returned the money, so I could excavate this site. This is the most interesting site. This is the problem in Pondicherry. Something, because we are struggling to work out, someone is spoiling. One small man is spoiling everything. This another site is a Manapata. It's near Kanikoi. This is a medieval site, of course. Dominic was speaking about the Babur and other things and the medieval. Of course, I want to continue the research work there. Of course, the architecture is another site. This is the Manapattu. It's a very beautiful sand dunes are there, where I found the Chinese and medieval period. The Buddha statue was excavated there, and I excavated one brick structure, ring wells, and the Chinese pottery. Of Chinese pottery. It's a beach as well as the archaeological site we can develop. That is also a nice place. This is Arumbatabram. It's also a very nice place where I have some of the architecture the local people damaged it. And this is the Pondicherry. That's another interesting one. The Pondicherry history has two phases. One is 1700 to 1800, 1800 to 1900. Okay, now we have only 1800 to 1900 architecture. Whatever buildings we have, French buildings in Pondicherry region, all are dated. Other churches or what is the mosque or the public buildings or the government buildings, whatever it is, all are dated back to 1800 to 1900, but not earlier than the 1700 to 1800 is very difficult to find. So I want to find out the 1700 structures. So that is a fort. Pondicherry has a very beautiful fort. It's a star-shaped fort. It's a star-shaped fort we have in Bharati Park. That is Dalush had done a massive work based on the drawings and the archives, the writings, paperwork and everything. He had done a beautiful work on this, but I wanted to find out the real structure of the French fort. Of course, many students didn't know there was a fort in Pondicherry. It's a beautiful fort we had in Pondicherry. That is the only fort with the city fortification. There is no fort with the city fortification. So we have a city fortification also. Not only the fort mount, and around the fort there is a settlement. Around the settlement we have a fortification. That is the most interesting one we have in Pondicherry. So this is the only fort that I have written an article as a last fort in Pondicherry. So searching for the last fort. That is also published in the website, you can see it. It was in 1760, the British demolished the fort. completely vanished. Okay? So finally they could reconstruct. I wanted to find out. So 1700 architectures we found. One is Aragapalli House. That is the only place we have saved 1700 architecture. And one is Arikemadu, that is the French mission house which was constructed in 1760. And that is not only that building, around the site we have a lot of architecture in Arikemadu which is not noticed. That is all are belong to 1760. The chapel is very big. That's what we call as a mission house. The mission house or the chapel, that is very big. And the whole northern sector was occupied by that building. So if you excavate, because this year I may have get approval from ASI to do this excavation. And I want to find out the port, trace the port. First I used the Google map. So behind the Portuguese building, we can see the arrow shape of the post also, right? That is in French port drawing, and you can see the same thing. Everything we can see in the Google map, the traces of the port wall, all the boulevard it covers. So now I want to excavate the port city. Even in the beach also you can see the bending that is also here. And this is, of course, this is closed. It's back to the it's a port, the old port, the new port. There is a green patch is the mount. And you can see the port wall also. Now it is closed with the rumbles and rocks, boulders. So you cannot see it is the photographs. When I was a child, I have seen this. In 1980, this picture was taken, but I don't know who took this picture, it was in the net. So I used these things and then I started to excavate to find out that this is the trench I made in Bharati Park. I want to find out where exactly the port was. And finally I excavated, I found one floor, again I went down and then I found another architecture feature. There you can see the floor of that. This is the stratum of the park. The top one is the granite path, and below that there is one concrete path that I used it, and below that there is another path that my father used it. That was in Bharati Park, and below that there is an architecture that was a French port. So now we can find this. I will show you this. Okay, this picture shows you the old path and everything. Is the architectural features we have. So Pondicherry has a lot of archaeological monuments and Kanya. So Arikemadu, Aurobindo, and even Puducherry, if you want that we can extend that also. And then Manapattu, medieval sites, apart from the monuments, a declared monument like Babu, Trivandar, Madaripattu, whatever it is. And then we have French before 1800, that's the most important. Of course, I asked the government to permit me to excavate only behind the temple, just one narrow place that is where the people are dumping the trashes. So you give me the permission, I will excavate the whole area. That means that part only, not the whole Pondicherry Park, behind the temple. So we can show the architecture feature of the French also. So we have a lot of sources, and but the condition is very bad. You can see the old photograph, the canons were put upside down, and all that was done by French in 1800. Now present condition you can see the same. So I went there, the market is where it was also, where market municipality, and Lagos Street. There was a clock tower. Around there is a cannon was put upside down. That was buried. That present condition is the concrete buildings are over there. But people didn't know that was cannon. So thank you very much. But preservation and development is a different talk that I wanted to do after.
So before I request Dr. Sahu, I would like to say a few words. In Sanskrit, there is a sentence called Ratna Garbha Prithivi. That means the earth possesses the ratnas, many jewels actually. When we dig out the earth, we find many jewels like this. For the first time, I saw these stone beads. And when I was planning for the symposium, I asked many people that can you please suggest me one of the archaeologists who can speak on this topic. I heard your name from 6-7 people. So I collected your number, and this was really one of the unique presentations. The way, and you see his passion, the way he is doing. He is basically interested to dig out, I think, many history is waiting for you, and if the ASI Delhi people, they will know about your identity and performances definitely.
Yes, we are getting approval, everything is good. we need a department. A single man cannot do everything.
So we will explore the possibilities of how.
we will do.
So we will explore the possibility how with Sri Aurobindo Society's collaboration we can work on this area. Particularly this museum, they are developing some museum, archaeological museum they are developing. So thank you. So we have the last speaker, Dr. Govardhan Sahu. He is from Department of Ecology and Environmental Sciences, Pondicherry University. I request Mr. Sahu to kindly present his views on this topic.
Thank you, Kishorji, for inviting me and share my expertise in the ecology or biological aspects on cultural heritage. So basically the title of this symposium, that is Cultural Heritage Conservation and Sustainability. So when we talk about sustainability, that means what? Conserving or fulfilling the demands of the present generation without compromising the need of the future generation. So that is what sustainability means. So now we have many resources, mostly those are natural. So you can talk about water, you can talk about air, you can talk about land, whether it is forest ecosystem or water ecosystem or anything that natural resources that is a God's gift to us. But right now almost everything is polluted. You can say water, so that is polluted, air also polluted, land also polluted. And because of that actually we are losing our life forms. So that may be plants, animals, even if there are many invisible microscopic organisms, and they actually play an important role, although we cannot see actually what is their role. So in biology, there is a big question that despite of our advancement, we still do not know exactly how many different species that we can say different forms of life exist in our planet. So that is a big question. But before we discover them, almost every day, many species actually they face extinction due to man-made activities. So mainly anthropogenic activity. So I will quote, it is not whether animals or plants will survive, it is whether man has the will to save them. So it is not whether animals or plants will survive, it is whether man has the willpower to save them. So this thing actually you might have noticed when lockdown started in March 2020 due to outbreak of COVID-19. So basically during that time, wildlife enjoyed their freedom. So they roamed freely on the streets. Basically you don't see that type of situation, that is quite rare. So they are actually scared of human beings. So you can say pangolin, you can say even if there are many civet, wild animals. So this symposium actually it is timely, and I hope we can extend our scientific investigation on different water bodies of Puducherry, basically my expertise on marine ecology or aquatic ecology. So including in different places of Puducherry administration, so that can be Yanam, Mahe or Kraikal. So there are some studies already documented by our own department from Pondicherry University. So it points that the rich biodiversity potential of Pondicherry. But still it is far from complete. And we have to keep in mind that Pondicherry region, it is a small city based on area and population density is quite high. And it is growing. So in future we can expect, so there is every possibility that the local water bodies might disappear due to city expansion. And we are going to lose our biodiversity associated with the local water bodies. So one big issue in Pondicherry is the disposal of solid waste that I want to highlight here. So disposal of solid waste, actually anybody, whoever wants to throw anything, they can throw anywhere. So that is a big problem. So even liquid waste. So that is also a serious problem because liquid waste actually contains many invisible pollutants. So you can say, for example, phenyl we are using in our bathroom. So we do not know how much phenyl we have to use. Actually, instead of using, we are pouring actually. So that is a problem actually. We do not know. So even if in hotels as well as in many other places, the housekeeping staff actually they are using phenyl and they do not know how much phenyl they should use. Just to avoid stinking smell and get a good smell, we are actually pouring phenyl in the toilet. So finally the phenyl, it is a phenol. So where it goes? So finally it goes to water body, or maybe it will contaminate the underground water. So that is a serious problem, because phenol actually is toxic. It can also cause cancer. So if you pour phenyl continuously for a few decades, so obviously underground water system will be contaminated. And once it is contaminated, it is very difficult to purify. So that is a serious problem. So both solid waste as well as liquid waste actually it can harm our environment badly, and the most dangerous form I told you that liquid untreated sewage. So that actually contains many pollutants and you cannot see, for example phenyl. So the water bodies, whether it is small or large, it can be river, it can be a small water body like pond, actually are the lifeline of our society, because they play an important role in our cultural heritage. So they are not only recharge our groundwater, but also act as home to many uncountable biodiversity, different life forms. So it can be birds, it can be small animals that we cannot see, and they actually play a critical role in our environment. We know little, so our quest for unknown will continue, and I hope this will bring sustainability to our environment as per Sustainable Development Goal targets set by United Nations. And Pondicherry has many local water bodies that actually many stakeholders or the persons involved in real estate business, they actually consider not essential, but actually they are essential. So even common public also dispose garbage there without knowing its consequences. So just one example, the plastic straw that actually we are throwing after drinking tender coconut, so that also can clog the throat of many aquatic animals or those animals who are living in the water. So because of disposal of waste in aquatic body or water body, we not only pollute the system, but also we are losing the aesthetic value that is actually culturally associated. And Pondicherry is a coastal place and well known for its beaches, but compared to Goa, I don't have statistics, but definitely compared to Goa, tourist number is less here. But we have huge potential, that's what we are discussing. So Pondicherry is a coastal place and well known for its beaches, but fails to attract tourists in large number, and one factor could be open defecation. So that is a serious problem. And mangroves, which actually protect the coast from storm surges, cyclone as well as tsunami, are struggling to survive. And I have seen mangrove forest in Oriental that is totally in stressful condition. So are struggling to survive along with the associated biodiversity. So from Goa actually, from mangrove ecosystem particularly, it is a typical plant, it can tolerate salty water or seawater. So those plants only can tolerate, not all the plants. So those from that ecosystem or that habitat particularly, so we had found few species, those are actually new to science. But from last year actually I joined in Pondicherry University, I am just starting my research. So what we noticed that we are not getting enough biodiversity from Pondicherry mangrove. So one reason could be that is because of pollution. So in Oriental I mentioned already, all the mangroves are in stressful condition, and that is because of untreated sewage. So I told you that the system is polluted here, mostly coastal water bodies, even if all the water bodies. And so I hope we can restore the aesthetic nature and biodiversity of Puducherry water bodies together with government of Puducherry locals as well as Aurobindo Society. And Aurobindo Society and Pondicherry University will play an important role in framing a proper scheme how to restore that degraded ecosystem or habitat. Okay, so with this, I thank the organizing committee as well as the Aurobindo Society for inviting me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Govardhan Sahuji. he spoke on one of the important aspects, and that was the water bodies may disappear due to expansion of the cities. This is really one of the unique challenges, we can say. And in terms of the pollution, I would like to inform that our Swarnim Puducherry project, we have a department here. They have started the water festival, which was started from 2nd Feb to, it will be continued up to 22nd of March. So I'll share the details with you, and we can have a meeting with the Swarnim Puducherry team, whatever the activities they are going on. But as far as the collaboration is concerned, that Sri Aurobindo Society and Pondicherry University's MOU is under process. It will be easier for us to connect with departments and also the colleges under the Pondicherry University and the government. So in a collaborative basis, we can do a lot of things actually. So we have with us Professor Chella Perumalji from Head Department of Anthropology from Pondicherry University. Sir, we welcome you. So we can have 5 minutes discussion. So then we can have a cup of tea, and if anyone wants to present any ideas or views, any suggestions, because we just tried to cover the natural heritage, the built heritage, the literary things, the rural cultural things also, and the main purpose was how we can conserve this, preserve this heritage for the future generations. As we have the challenges, we have the opportunities also. So I think in a little effort we can do something. So 5 minutes discussion. Sir, you want to say something?
Yes, time is up. So the only thing is all very important discussions we have had here on for the past couple of hours. Because of conservation in terms of nature, culture, all the other things, and if we can show ways to the rest of the country also. So we can do here in a small way, there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of talents here, and we can do here in a smaller way, which can be emulated by other people. That is a very, very interesting thing. Because sometimes you cannot do everything at a time in a big scale. But to start with, you can do it in a smaller way. Even if something goes wrong, we can correct it. So which will be helpful for the whole nation also, if we are in need of that. So I am also associated with a couple of activities with the foundation for the environment farming or to the other activities. So I also want to collaborate with all the activities in future also, especially water thing I was associating with the people. And today I heard that what is the village culture?
Sarvam, village Sarvam.
I am highly impressed by the Sarvam activities. A lot more we can do by using Sarvam without even investing much of finance and all. You can make use of Sarvam initiative to catch up, to spread the other areas across Pondicherry also. So I'm extremely happy to get an opportunity to come here to hear all very good inputs. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So if I may just quickly add upon to perhaps my colleague, that was Aho. I am also from the same department as him. I am Dr. Madhimaran, Associate Professor from Ecology and Environment Department of Pondicherry University. As you might have heard, there's, as you said, rightly pointed out, there's a lot of scope in the sense collaborative work where the university and of course all the stakeholders here, especially heritage, as we all know, it's having so many components, not just the material or building, but also the living part of it. So rightly, like kind of that includes bringing up, for example, biodiversity, like tree biodiversity, indigenous trees, particularly what might have been, kind of over the time, maybe replaced by some other exotic trees, whatever. So I think that not only that, maybe restoration of lakes, like our department was earlier also involved, like bringing up into the focus of wetland. I think one of the study probably mentioned it, our department conducted a survey or a small research that was studied in among 5 lakes and found that it's quite important to, bring them so that they're not completely gone away with activities that we might lose the biodiversity of the lakes. So I think it shouldn't stop here, as you said. We continue working and bringing out different components, social aspects, and I think that's I see quite diverse group also here, and also we will get in touch with also other departments in the university, like our professor from human anthropology. Yeah. So also with Sabu. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Raja, you want to say?
Yeah, just have a point. When we had this local food systems, I'm sure people from university also would be knowing about it. LFS was happening prior to COVID. We had a lot of meetings and we had a lot of gatherings, and it was all anchoring around the French Institute. And when the program got over, it was not an elaborate program. It was like about 15 days or 20 days. But at the end of the program, there was a concept note which was brought out. The concept note had something like, for example, I know Professor Chella sir because he is associated with the Speakman Council, right? So that's how I know him. So for example, if we say something about him, the kind of work which he is doing, I'm just giving an example, sir. So with his email ID, so let us here one single contact point is Kishor. Thanks to Kishor, I think these guys are doing a great job actually from the society. So we sort of put things together, and Kishor has got everybody's mail ID. So it's being taught, it's being recorded. Let's make a transcript of it. Let's make a small half a page description. It's tough for us to make it long, and we'll put things together as a soft copy. And we have loads of things happening through Waterfest and through Heritage. So I think we will work with Kishor, with the AuroBharati and Society, and we'll bring up a concept note. And that particular concept note, as sir was saying, heritage is not one aspect, it's a 360-degree aspect, everything. So let's escalate it at our own levels to various institutions and things like that. I'm sure there will be somebody in the higher level, highest level, who would always want us to talk to us. So let's try doing that, and I'm sure we can. Yeah. With all the resources which we have, I'm sure we will be able to bring in a nice concept. Yeah, I'm sure Kishor sir would be.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll all of us support him. Yeah. Nice. And can we all give a nice clap to the AuroBharati team? All of us will take it.
Actually, I take the privilege of being the daughter of this soil, Pondicherry.
Oh.
But as it is, I'm 35 years, I'm at Nilgiris.
Okay.
I'm the research consultant for the Tribal Research Center, working for tribes of Nilgiris, because 25 years since I'm there, living there. So I had a chance of coming here, and Dr. Chella is my. He has only raised me to this level.
Oh.
So he has given me the invite. Actually, when you are talking about this, that is about me. And when you are talking about this tourism development, it is. To my knowledge, I am born and brought up from Pondicherry. I had lived next to Raj Nivas. Everything, it is only developing, the tourism is developing only to this, in this coastal area. And when you go much more into this Pondicherry, there are so many lovely areas inside. And why you are restricting only to the White Town area? But people are also attracted only towards the White Town because the beach is always there. And when we are talking about there is no land, there is no sufficient land we were talking about for bringing up this, like Jindal and all the natural therapy. lots more area towards the Puducherry, that was Puducherry, and Bomiyapalli on this side. So I thought, when you were all discussing about, when you were talking about that, I thought it can be furthermore extended inside this area, except this white. So the whole Pondicherry will have the glamour of and the privilege of getting the tourism developed. And the knowledge of tourism should be extended to Pondicherry other than taking a bike or whatever, they are tax-free, taxless like that. The tourism motive should be developed in Pondicherry. Going inside the villages, this side, every side. So that is what I felt
yeah,
in the arena.
It is one of the unique ideas which you have said, ma'am. And I just want to conclude with few words that it was not a discussion, because we have started a project called Intangible Cultural Heritage of Puducherry, Documentation and Sustainable Development Process. And also we are working on a project called the Monuments and the World Heritage of Puducherry. So this program was part of the projects which we are already doing, and we are also very much interested. Very soon we will start our community outreach programs to reach to the artisans and to explore the different art forms, which is integral part of this great land actually. And when we talk about this heritage, as Professor said from the archaeology, sir, actually, what's his name?
From my department, Dr. Matimala.
He mentioned that, when we talk about this cultural heritage, many things are left. Like if you talk about the underwater cultural heritage, there is a tremendous scope to, like sir presented. If you go to the underwater cultural heritage, we will find a lot of things, and it is not so easy actually to do that. Underwater. A man told about the tribal things, and these are the areas we will definitely, and I hope within a short span of time it's not possible, but we will continue this dialogue, and not only on the discussion basis, in the practical field also we will have some programs. We will invite sir, you and the other experts, and let us join together and do something for this beautiful land, and which was earlier called as the Vedapuri. The tradition, one of the important factors we will address it on 2nd of March. We have another program. This Puducherry was the seat of Vedic learning and traditions. In terms of the changing dynamics in the urban landscape, we'll find only few gurukulas are there, and we cannot say it's a loss of the traditions, because without our main strength is our knowledge actually. So we're trying our level best to start to do some little things, and we hope it will add to the mainstream. And I'm very much thankful to all the learned speakers today, those who joined from different institutions. And it was really a wonderful evening, and I enjoyed. I hope all of you have enjoyed this festive celebration, although the number was less. But I think number doesn't matter. So with this. On behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society, thanks to all of you.